to Mayor Emanuel's plans. We get the latest on that developing story from AM 560's David Stewart.
Superintendent Eddie Johnson says beyond attrition, the department will hire 516 patrol officers and promote hundreds of field training officers, sergeants, lieutenants, and detectives. He said the goal is restoring safety and trust.
In a world with so many guns and so many young people feeling left out in the economy, we're up against some difficult conditions, some difficult times. But we don't give up at CPD, and we don't stand down.
Some aldermen say Mayor Emanuel hasn't provided enough information on covering the cost, but he says he'll do it without raising taxes. David Stewart, NBC News Radio, Chicago.
Teachers in the nation's third largest school district are casting ballots on whether they back a strike. Members of the CTU began voting for strike authorization on Wednesday. The voting lasts through Friday. Results will not be available right away if the union goes on strike. The earliest a walkout could take place is mid-October. Chicago Catholic priest removed from his pastoral duties while authorities investigate questionable material stored on his computer has now been charged with child pornography. The Reverend Octavio Munoz Capetillo appeared in court in Chicago yesterday, bond set at $50,000. Students at a Brighton Park Elementary School are back in classes after evacuating from a hole that was found in the school's roof. Police were called to the Columbia Explorers Academy Wednesday to examine roof damage, apparently caused by an explosive device. Quickly, police determined the damage had been done by fireworks. DuPage County authorities investigating the death of a Willowbrook High School student. Abdul Jalal suffered a medical emergency in the school's cafeteria on Monday. A new judge is hearing the case against the widow of disgraced former Fox Lake police officer Joe Glenowitz. Judge James Boras took over for Victoria Rossetti yesterday, who recused herself for unspecified reasons. Chicago sports. Philadelphia beat the White Sox 8-3. Cubs over Cincinnati 9-2. The news service of Staples with low prices every day on the office items you use most. And right now is a great time to stock up and save with the Buy More, Save More event happening in Staples stores. The more you buy, the more you save on everything your office needs. Staples, make more happen. 5:05 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The clock is ticking. The most important political event of the year comes to Chicago on October 29th. It's Freedom Summit 2016, featuring Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Michelle Malkin, AM 560's Mike Gallagher, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Joe Walsh. And just added, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, author of Defeating Jihad. Tickets start at just $39 and are available at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Air Comfort, the Ayn Rand Institute, and by healthinsurancementors.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
About 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I went from being able to work 14, 16 hours a day with no problem to where I could barely walk a block to the store without having to stop and rest. I went on to the phytonutrients about 6 months ago, and within a couple of months, my medical doctor had cut my prescriptions down in a little bit smaller dosage. The next time I went back a month later, I walked into the doctor's office and he says, "My gosh, what's happened to you? You don't even look like the same person." He looked at my legs and the swelling had gone down. My blood pressure was down. The venous stasis ulcers that I had had on my legs for the last 4 or 5 years because of the poor circulation were all healed, and I'm feeling far better.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751 or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code Chicago.
America is taking the lead in energy,
leading the world in oil and natural gas production.
I vote to keep it going.
With the right policies, we can produce, refine, and supply
more oil and natural gas.
And more abundant energy
means more affordable energy for American families.
A more secure America.
Jobs,
opportunity, and economic growth for our children
and grandchildren.
That's why this election,
I'm voting
for American energy.
Learn more at voteforenergy.org.
Join us and become an energy voter.
Brought to you by American Petroleum Institute.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accots, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-519-7796. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-519-7796.
5:07 coming up on 5:08. Let's check the roads this early morning in our AM 560 traffic center. Here is Jim Telemonte. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Mike. In northwest Indiana, it's a huge backup now in westbound 8094, jammed from Burr to Indianapolis Boulevard due to early morning construction. The eastbound side is fine right now. Kennedy Expressway outbound at Armitage, there's a crash. Still there blocking the right shoulder. Inbound, the express lanes have opened after they'd been closed for overnight work. There's still some construction here and there, but otherwise the expressways and tollways are now looking good. Traffic service of iCash. The Illinois Treasurer is safeguarding $2.5 billion in unclaimed property. The iCash program makes it fast, free, and easy to claim what's yours. 1 in 4 Illinois adults discovers property to claim at illinoistreasurer.gov/iCash. Search today at illinoistreasurer.gov/iCash. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer starts next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Here's our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
A humid day today with some sun, high 83. Mostly cloudy with a shower and spots tonight. Humid with a low 67. Then remaining humid tomorrow with clouds and sun along with a shower and spots, high 82. Mostly cloudy at night, low 66. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
66 at O'Hare, 68 along the lakefront. It is 69 this morning at Midway. Your next news update at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts now on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Illinois Rising, hosted by Dan Proft and the Illinois Policy Institute. Sunday afternoons at 3 on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Programming note at 7:05. We've got the former Danish Prime Minister and former Secretary General of NATO, Anders Fogh Rasmussen, on, so that should be a conversation you'll want to hear. But starting, we need to update what happened in Charlotte last night as civil unrest continued. A state of emergency was declared. The National Guard was deployed. One person was shot, pronounced dead, then pronounced critically wounded.
And this morning, the person's on life support. Yes.
So
in critical condition. We don't know if he's going to make it.
And it's important to note, Charlotte police tweeted out that it was a civilian-to-civilian shooting, not a police-to-civilian shooting. Well, that's important to note. Before we get into the particulars of last night, I found this statement from Hillary Clinton while she was in Orlando, I believe, about the two shootings that we talked about yesterday and that we'll continue to talk about, Charlotte and Tulsa. The lack of distinction between the two. Listen to this.
I'm sending condolences and prayers to their families. I know a lot of you are as well. There is still much we don't know about what happened in both incidents, but we do know that we have two more names to add to a list of African Americans killed by police officers in these encounters. It's unbearable, and it needs to become intolerable.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Here's what we do know about Charlotte, since she said there's still things that we don't know about the two shootings. Well, it's starting to come into focus. You had the Charlotte-Mecklenburg police chief, Kerr Putney, who happens to be African-American. He explained some of what we do know at this juncture.
Our detectives, through their investigation, recovered the firearm that the subject was holding in his hand when he got out of the vehicle. but at this point, I don't know that he definitively pointed the weapon specifically towards an officer. A weapon was seized, a handgun. I can also tell you we did not find a book that has been made reference to.
Yeah, so they found the book, or they found the gun. They're still looking for Catcher in the Rye.
Well, or To Kill a Mockingbird. But the family's disputing the police's, their official account of what happened. And what's making matters worse, they're saying he was inside his car reading a book, waiting for his son to get off the bus. He was parked near an apartment complex. The police officers were at that apartment complex serving a warrant to somebody who lives in there, not to Scott himself. And there was a witness that came forward yesterday, Tashia Williams, and she backs up Scott's story that he was reading a book.
But as far as my child, my nephews, I am concerned. I'm worried about them.
My brother.
Something has to be done, whether it's our city leaders, whether it's our state.
Stand by.
Did you see any gun on him?
I did not. No gun. It was a book. And he walked to the back of his truck. Just like this, he asked the police, what is going on? What's the problem? And then the next thing you know, I couldn't hear what they said, but then he got shot 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And there's video that's supposed to be released, and the governor came out and said, well, wants to hold off on that because he thinks it might incite more rioting.
The report yesterday was dash cam video shows him coming toward the police with a gun.
That's good. Then they should release it.
And the police chief also said, according to his investigation, what he knows to be true at this point, the officers warned Mr. Scott to drop the gun. I don't think they'd warn him to drop Catcher in the Rye. Unless there is a conspiracy to ignore what's on the dash cam video and eyewitness testimony, and we understand how eyewitness testimony works, the Rashomon effect, right? 2 people in the same place viewing the same thing come away with very different perspectives on it. So maybe that woman did see what she saw, but she saw it at a different point. I don't know. But I'm telling you what the police are reporting, and that there's dash cam video that alleges to show Mr. Scott with a weapon taking an aggressive posture towards police.
And if they have that dash cam video, I think that they should release it because there's going to be another night of violence. They had to call on the National Guard last night. I mean, it was so bad. People stopped at stoplights, were getting, bats and rocks thrown at them. 4 police officers were injured. They even raided the Hyatt Hotel. They used bats and rocks, smashed their way through there, and started punching employees in the face. That's how crazy it got. They also went into the Omni Hotel, Charlotte's Hornets. They looted that place. I mean, it's not going to stop.
This is licensed for thuggery.
Yeah, there are thugs, and they're helping themselves to whatever they want, but it's not going to stop unless the video is released. That's what they're saying. They want to see it. If there's no book, they want to see it.
I don't care what they want to see.
Well, it's going to keep going on and on.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, then perhaps the police and the National Guard will do something about that.
Well, here's Governor Pat McCrory, who explains why it might not be a good idea to release the video.
One viewpoint of a video doesn't often always tell the whole story. The angles can make a difference, and the not hearing often in the video, so that the complexity, the video is one piece of evidence, and we have to be very careful with all the new media that is available. And in one respect, it can be used to a very great positive thing for our public. In another way, the video can also be abused.
Yeah, so here's the point of order on this. People looting a Walmart to protest what?
Yeah.
People looting the Charlotte Hornets team store to protest what exactly? One person shooting another person. I'm sorry, that is a statement about Mr. Scott or about police brutality or about any... No.
What did Martin Luther King Jr. say? You riot when your voice can't be heard, something to that effect? They feel like they're under attack.
I mean,
Charlotte, North Carolina is 35% African American, but then you have to take into account it was an African American police officer who shot another African American.
Yeah, and so
I'm just saying release the tape so we can put this to rest and make this stop before somebody else gets killed.
Yeah, I understand your disposition. I think the dash cam video should come out, and I suspect it will. But the disposition of give in to the demands of looters to make it stop is something I don't agree with.
All right, well, the family has a right to see it.
Oh, this family? This family?
Guys, is there anything we should know? No.
You just know that all white people are devils.
And make sure you air that one.
Air that.
Don't take
All white cops are devils and white people.
That family? That's the brother of Scott, the individual who was killed by police in Charlotte.
Well, he's grieving right now.
I'm sorry.
He's grieving right now. No, he's a thug too. I mean, for him to say that is ridiculous.
It was a black police officer that shot and killed his brother.
That's what the reporter should have said. But maybe she was scared for her safety because rioters are running into reporters.
You don't think he knew that?
It didn't sound like, of course he knew it, but why does he keep saying that white? Can I hear it again? What did he say? White people are evil. We're the devil.
White people are devils. All white cops are devils. All white people are devils. See, because the philosophy of give in to what the mob wants, you know where that gets you? It gets you to the Massachusetts Supreme Court, who ruled on Tuesday that because of systemic racism in the Boston Police Department, a Terry stop, right, the detention and search of an individual based on reasonable suspicion of criminal conduct, effectively don't apply to black individuals. To black people. Blacks have a special right to run from cops. Let me repeat that. Blacks have a special right to run from cops, so decrees the Massachusetts State Supreme Court. Think that's going to be easy for police to do their job?
No, then you're going to have more incidents where there's accidental shootings on the job that are misconstrued as police brutality or excessive force.
Well, yeah. And so if you don't want police to do their job, and if the people of a particular race have a right to flee, have a right to resist arrest, then you are the one suggesting that I am conceding civil society to the mob. So
it's getting so bad
is that where you want to go?
No, that's not where I want to go. And it's just every time they're rioting, it keeps taking it to a new level and a new level. And last night, even reporters
This
were
isn't
attacked.
a new level.
Well, they were attacking reporters. A local reporter had to go to the hospital from Charlotte. And then Ed Lavandera, are you familiar with him from CNN? He's a big guy.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah, he fell down and go boom.
They were trying to get various people, agitators, out of the crowd, and as other people came in to try to grab those people.
Ed, are you okay?
Yeah, we're fine, Anderson. We're fine. So just
got a little body check.
Taking out their frustrations on me.
Being a reporter is a full contact sport.
Ed's a big guy. I mean, his BMI is close to Donald Trump's, I'd have to say. But yeah, he brushed off his, got the wind knocked out of him, stood back up. But that person who ran into him later came up to him and apologized.
I'm sorry I body checked you.
Said he didn't know he was a reporter. Now, what part of standing in front of a camera with a light on would make you not think that he was a reporter?
Well, what if he wasn't a reporter? Then it was okay to body check him?
No. Well, he was running from something. He thought other shots were fired, so he was running. The protester was, and he ran into him. So that's the story he told him.
That's not what the video shows.
No.
Speaking of video. Well, that's just it's fascinating stuff. By the way, let's maintain some institutional knowledge. That's what we do on this show. This is not new. Rioting in response to a police action that is in question has become a hallmark of the last 8 years of the Obama administration. Now, it's not just unique to the Obama administration in the annals of American history, but this is nothing new. We've seen this over and over again, in fact. And we've seen statements like Mr. Scott's brother made, the racially tinged statements, the incitement to riot type statements from Ferguson to present.
Right. But this is, unlike, when they were in Ferguson, they weren't protesting in St. Louis and burning and looting the city of St. Louis. They're burning and looting the city of Charlotte, North Carolina in their business district. They also blew out every window at Bank of America on the first level. Black Lives Matter everywhere.
Yeah. Black Lives Matter funded by George Soros and the Ford Foundation. So make sure that we include that in the conversation about who Black Lives Matter is, who's funding them, who's supporting this lawlessness. And maybe these people, business owners and just everyday Americans, maybe they'll start to kind of understand who is on the side of law and order and equal justice before the law and who represents thuggery and the descent into anarchy.
But I think it's different because they're now charging into hotels and assaulting people, assaulting employees at the Hyatt and the Omni.
That makes it different.
No, but they should be arrested. They're not even arresting them after they're beating up people.
Burning down businesses in Ferguson is different, of a different kind than assaulting a hotel employee. No, it's
Employees.
Not. No, it's
not. And then people sitting at their cars waiting at red lights. I don't know.
Take your calls after this.
See Alan West, Michelle Malkin, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Mike Gallagher, townhall.com political editor Guy Benson, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Joe Walsh at Freedom Summit Chicago 2016. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Your phone calls coming up. 312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. Here's your forecast for today. The first full day of fall. It's going to be very warm and humid. And some sunshine, a high of 83 degrees. And tomorrow we're going to have some clouds and sun with a shower in spots, but it'll be humid and a high in the low 80s. Let's get those travel times. Overnight road work picked up. Here's Jim Telemonte with the answer.
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Dan. Got some road work causing huge delays. Right now on westbound 8094, it's completely jammed from around Chase to Indianapolis Boulevard. There's road work there in the right lane. Also some bridge work at Clyde Avenue. We're told this should wrap up soon, but it's a big backup, so want to take the Indiana Toll Road or Ridge Road instead. Inbound I-57, you've now got a 2 or 3 minute delay from before Halstead to the merge. Got ongoing work in the left lane. Bishop Ford now, 1 or 2 minute delay from Cottage Grove to the Ryan. Jim Talamonte in the AM 560 Traffic Center.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth. I had a failed root canal and it was causing me pain. Dr. Neruzzi took care of my tooth and I got my implant, and then I had another after that fail, and he did that one as well. And the experience was, they were amazing. It was not painful at all like I thought it was going to be, and I was very, very, very nervous about the whole thing. Nobody enjoys getting, implants or dental work, and I procrastinated, but I had to have it done. And he took me in immediately and took care of it. And he made it really affordable. They're very accommodating to people that cannot afford to have it done. I would recommend Dr. Neruzzi to anybody, and I have given him referrals. My own sister had hers done by him.
This is Dr. Neruzzi. I personally guarantee your happiness with your implants. Go to implantsforme.com.
For missing teeth, dental implants are wonderful. The advantages are fantastic. Just remember, implantsforme.com. Implantsforme.com.
The sounds of summer from your very own pool and spa is brought to you by All Seasons Pools, Spas, and Outdoor Living. All Seasons Pools and Spas begins from the ground up with creative custom design, expert pool construction, and hardscaping, and then finishes with complete maintenance and care, leaving you to enjoy the of summer. As you soak up the sun poolside, imagine a fire pit, outdoor kitchen, or pergola. All Seasons Pool and Spa will turn your boring backyard into a vacation paradise. No need to go off the deep end. Relax, knowing that for over 60 years, All Seasons Pools and Spas has been making a splash in your neighborhood. Visit their showroom and store for a complete selection of pool, spa, robotic pool cleaners, and premium barbecue and grill islands. A trained staff is on hand to provide water testing, salt and chlorine products, and advice for servicing your pool. All Seasons Pool and Spa and Outdoor Living, 135th Street in Orland Park, or resortlivingathome.com. That's resortlivingathome.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, we're talking about the rioting in Charlotte and the 2 police-involved shootings. You heard Hillary's reaction. She didn't make a distinction between Charlotte and Tulsa, and there's a distinction to be made, particularly as we get more information about Charlotte and Mr. Scott. Donald Trump reacted to the Terrence Crutcher shooting in Tulsa. This was at a Cleveland town hall, saying, I must tell you, I watched the shooting in particular in Tulsa, and that man was hands up. That man went to the car, hands up, put his hands on the car. I mean, to me, it looked like he did everything he was supposed to do. He went on to say about Officer Betty Shelby, who opened fire on Mr. Crutcher. I don't know what she was thinking. But I'm very, very troubled by that.
Yeah. Pretty much suggesting that she shouldn't be a police officer, or that she doesn't have the training to be a police officer, or needs better training, really.
Well, it's interesting. It's worth noting for Mr. Trump that Officer Shelby was an officer who was training other police officers in the Tulsa Police Department. She did on the job for 5 years. So, this is still coming into focus, even though I concede the point that Tulsa presents, to me, if everything we understand about Charlotte is true, Tulsa presents much more serious, complicated questions than does Charlotte.
Yeah, it's a complete different set of circumstances.
Right.
I mean, you can't even compare the two.
Which is why Hillary Clinton shouldn't have, but she did.
But what is what Donald Trump did wrong? I mean, mentioning her ability to police and
I think
what was she thinking? I mean, a lot of people are asking that when they saw the video.
I think there's restraint in these matters is always difficult, but some restraint. I mean, you can have your initial reaction to the video. We all have the same reaction to the video of, did she have to shoot? And that's a legitimate question. But he didn't do anything, right? This is what the family of Crutcher says, and his attorneys, their family's attorney says in Tulsa. Although, again, now the other question is, well, if he didn't do anything, why did two officers simultaneously decide to use force? One a taser, one her firearm. Scott on the west side, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. The people that are rioting are simply opportunist people that it's not an organic demonstration. It's staged and it's funded by somebody. I think that they need to have forces descend upon the people, check IDs, that anybody that's receiving any type of government benefits, the benefits should be terminated immediately, and they should have to reapply for the benefits. I also think that the funding sources for the people that are not from the city need to be, and that are bringing people in, need to be found out, and they need to be charged with the crime. And we need to get the focus off these people. I often wonder what would happen if the police just didn't show up to the demonstration. Would there be a demonstration?
I think so. Because they want to help themselves to whatever they want.
Yeah,
let's break down the window so we can take some Charlotte Hornets T-shirts.
Right. This is what we're talking about is looting. It's not a demonstration. Ed in Oak Brook.
Yeah, you know what? I really don't have a problem with demonstrators because they're just going to do that anyway. What I really have a problem is the government officials like Obama and Clinton encouraging them to do it by saying, you know what, it's really not your fault. I understand why they're rioting, because they want free stuff. They raided Walmart. Why they didn't go into any library or anything, and there's nothing there for them, but they went to a Walmart. So what I'm pissed off about is not only is Obama weak with foreign countries, but he's even weak with his own people. He, instead of saying, you know what, do the right thing, and, you know, let's work it out and see what happens. No, he's like saying, you know what, it's really not your fault. And now Hillary's doing the same thing. And you know what? Everybody is in danger in this country because one of those riots can start anywhere, and there's nothing you can do about it. It can start on the trains. It can start in downtown Chicago, anywhere. So have a nice day and think about that, liberals.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
If you're serious about selling your home, now's the time. Supply is low and it's a great seller's market in many Chicagoland neighborhoods. This is Michael Medved, and I've done some research, and along with my Salem radio colleagues Mike Gallagher and Dennis Prager, we all recommend that you call Saul. Saul Z and the Z team are so good that if they don't sell your home in 59 days, they'll sell it for free. Guaranteed. Saul is ranked 106 out of 1.2 million agents by the Wall Street Journal. His proven marketing system is so effective that he sells on average a home every single day. Now, he does it by attracting multiple full-price offers that increase demand and help sell your home fast and at the highest price. It's a no-brainer. If I were selling a home in Chicagoland, I'd call Saul. Go online to callsaul.net. That's callsaul.net. Or call Saul now at 888-346-0666. That's callsaul.net or 888-346-0666. You'd better call Saul.
Is overseas uncertainty making a dent in your portfolio? Is your bank telling you that everything's going to be okay? You don't need to feel like your finances are spiraling out of control. It's time to take a different approach with Online Trading Academy. They'll teach you how to navigate the stock market during these changing times and prepare you for future market fluctuations. Online Trading Academy's certified instructors teach you a rules-based strategy where you'll trade on knowledge, not speculation, so you'll be able to identify market changes before they happen. Reserve your seat today for a free half-day training course at their state-of-the-art education facility in Lombard. Call now 877-682-2442. Mention AM 560, and you'll receive a free home video study course valued at $247. Call now 877-682-2442.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, can you believe it? He's at it again. Anthony Weiner sexting, but this time a 15-year-old girl.
He's in quite a pickle. And Hillary Clinton campaign manager Robbie Mook has his What is Aleppo moment.
But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Outside, we have 67 degrees as the autumnal equinox kicks in. In plain speak, it's the beginning of fall. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel will deliver his new, more comprehensive plan for addressing public safety. Here in Chicago, the agenda is expected to include more support and mentorship of youth, a key theme he's expected to address this evening at Malcolm X College. Charlotte this morning remains on edge after a second night of protest over a deadly police shooting. Governor Pat McCrory there has declared a state of emergency. Mayor Jennifer Roberts says she's trying to get the Scott family access to police footage that may show the shooting.
I am going to work with our chief to try to have the family have access. There is a protocol whereby he can do that even during the investigation.
Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump weighed in, saying he's troubled by the recent police shooting in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
That man was hands up. That man went to the car, put his hand on the car. I mean, to me, it looked like he did everything you're supposed to do.
Speaking at a black church in Cleveland, Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton says the killings by African-American men by police should no longer be tolerated.
There is still much we don't know about what happened in both incidents, but we do know that we have 2 more names to add to a list of African Americans killed by police officers in these encounters. It's unbearable, and it needs to become intolerable.
Speaking at a rally in Orlando, Blue Bell Ice Cream doing another recall this morning over listeria concerns. The Texas-based creamery says the voluntary recall involves chocolate chip cookie dough sent from an Iowa supplier. The dough sent to Blue Bell plants in Texas and Alabama. Teachers in the nation's third-largest school district here casting ballots on whether they support a strike. Members began a strike authorization vote yesterday. DuPage County authorities investigating the death of a Willowbrook High School student. It happened in the school's cafeteria Monday. Wheaton College employee is banned from campus and on unpaid leave after being charged with having child pornography on his personal computer. Benjamin Felker was being held on $250,000 bail. He's charged with 4 counts of possession of child pornography after a search of his home on Tuesday. Philly beat the White Sox, Cubs over Cincinnati. The news a service of Burger King's breakfast. What's the best place to have your breakfast? How about on a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 Croissantwich breakfast sandwiches for just $4. Light flaky croissant piled high with savory sausage or delicious thick-cut smoked bacon. 2 Croissantwich, $4, only at Burger King. Price and participation vary. 5:35 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
You know what? I want to tell you something, America.
The Joe Walsh Show.
We ask our cops to do an ugly, impossible job. And way too many of us hate on them every day. I'll tell you what, America, you are going to wake up, so help me God, America, you are going to wake up one day without police officers in this country. And you will deserve it.
The Joe Walsh Show. Weeknights starting at 5. Right after Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Remodel your kitchen with Galaxy. Buy 1 cabinet and get 1 free with free financing and design services. Call 773-783-8300.
Hiring people is probably the worst part of my job. It's such a hassle, the searching, the sorting through resumes. Most people don't have the right experience.
We started using ZipRecruiter about 3 months ago. Right from the start, you could tell it was going to make hiring a lot easier. 1 click and my job was posted to 100+ job boards, all the top sites.
All of the candidates came to my dashboard, and it's easy to compare them. Thumbs up if I liked them, thumbs down if I didn't. No emails and attachments, printing up docs, phone calls, none of that.
And I couldn't believe the number of great applicants we got. I had the person we needed within 1 week. I don't know how we hired before ZipRecruiter.
Whether you're looking to fill one position or 20, find the best candidates with ZipRecruiter, where your job is just one click away from 100-plus job sites. ZipRecruiter, the fastest way to hire. And right now you can try ZipRecruiter free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/work. That's ZipRecruiter.com/work. ZipRecruiter.com/work.
5:37, AM 560 Traffic Center time. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Like things are getting better now in westbound 8094 at Indianapolis Boulevard. The right lane has reopened. There's still some bridge work at Klein, which should be wrapped up soon. Traffic is stop and go from just past Grant to past Klein. On the inbound ride, it's heavy approaching downtown. You've got about a 4-minute delay. I-57 already 30 minutes. I-80 to the merge in the Bishop Ford 25. Traffic service is Subway. Subway restaurants feature a different 6-inch sub for $3.50 every day. Today is Italian BMT. Participation may vary. Additional charges for extras and deluxe plus tax may not be combined with other offers. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Warm and humid today. Showers are possible. Some sunshine may sneak through, high 83. 67 overnight. Still warm and humid tomorrow, high 82. 67 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by M.J. Miller & Company Jewelers. All that glitters is gold at M.J. Miller Jewelers in downtown Barrington.
See Alan West and Michelle Malkin at Freedom Summit Chicago 2016. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Good morning, Dan and Amy.
So why are you so dressed up today? Or maybe I'm dressed down.
Well, yeah, you're always dressed very comfortably, aren't you?
Well, I have places to go. Kids to coach.
I know,
you know how that goes.
You're a coach. I get it. It's
Coach,
fine.
I'm going to start wearing a whistle come tomorrow. Every day I'm wearing a whistle.
I wanted to just bring up this one point before we move on for now on the topic of these shootings. Got an interesting email from a doctor from Mayo yesterday about the Crutcher shooting in Tulsa. He said, let's not assume that the Tulsa victim died as a result of a bullet wound. Victims on PCP, and we know PCP was found in his car. We're waiting for the toxicology report. Victims on PCP have often died of ventricular fibrillation when tased. Many published studies on this, and he provides some citations. Now, I don't know if the medical examiner has conclusively ruled that he died from the bullet wound. I mean, that's obviously the assumption, but I don't know if that's been conclusively reviewed and determined by the medical examiner. But I just thought it was an interesting note from the doctor that perhaps had he not been shot, we could be in the same situation, or perhaps until we get the conclusive determination.
Well, people on PCP do crazy things. That is a drug that I don't even know why it's still out there, but whatever. He left his car in the middle of the street. He was so hopped up on drugs with the car doors open at first, and then he shut them, and he was just wandering around a busy street.
Well, and that's why when Donald Trump says Mr. Crutcher did everything he was supposed to do, well, he didn't. He didn't comply with police officers' commands.
And he kept saying over and over again that she choked.
Now, did she get scared? Was she choking? What happened? But maybe people like that, people that choke, people that do that, maybe they can't be doing what they're doing, okay?
I mean, is that a rush to judgment? I mean, that's at one point yesterday where him and Hillary Clinton agreed on something.
Yes, it is. Now, he focused on Tulsa, where she was unable to distinguish between the shootings in Charlotte and Tulsa, and she's kind of demagoguing the issue.
And Donald Trump was in Charlotte and then in Detroit and spoke both times about he was in front of an African-American crowd. How could he not address the issue?
Well, he did, yeah. Well, he
I mean,
there's no problem addressing it. It's the quality of the address. That's the issue.
She choked.
Speaking of Hillary and the campaign, and we're just, I think we're in the countdown phase right now.
Yeah, well, 4 days away from the first presidential debate.
Yeah.
I mean,
46,
96
hours.
Oh my, 40.
I mean, kind
or
of
as Dan says, 90.
ticking them off.
And then 46 days away till the election.
And so Robbie Mook, he is Hillary's Dickensian named campaign manager. He was on.
I call him the Mookster, but you like Mook.
Well, Mook. I mean, that's just it's a great it's a pejorative for like a mope, a goof. You're a mook, and that's the name of her campaign manager. His actual name is God-given name. Yes, and he was on Morning Joe yesterday.
That show's still on.
I'll tell you what.
Those two cats, I think they're going to hook up, Mika and Joe. Now that they're both divorced,
or maybe Mika and Mike Barnacle.
That's a possibility, too.
You don't know. So he was asked about Hillary's positions on Syria. And here we go again. It's Gary Johnson Redux. Robbie Mook asked about the red line. And here's the exchange.
Well, what about in Syria, though? She supported the drawing of the red line. Obviously, she was out of her office when Assad used chemical weapons. Was it a mistake to draw the red line if the president was not willing to go to do something about it when it was crossed?
Well, as you pointed out, the decision regarding that was made after she was out of office. So I think you'd have to ask
was
President
she disappointed
Obama,
that the president
Kerry
didn't act when the line was crossed?
I think you'd have to ask her about that question, how she would characterize
Well, you're here to
her
speak
feelings.
for her, Robbie, so you haven't discussed that at all?
What matters is what she is going to do as president. And as I said, she has a clear plan to defeat ISIS. Donald Trump does not. It's a secret. He won't tell anybody what it is, and he says he knows more than the generals. I think the choice for voters is clear.
So Mook just kept repeating that over and over again. She has a plan. He does, and he thinks he knows more than the generals. Rinse and repeat. And he's like a kid. He's just like a.
Well, how old is he?
He's like
he's
11 years old.
Maybe
12. And he's just giggly, and he's unresponsive to the questions, except to repeat kind of the 3 rote talking points that he went into the interview with, and it's just uncomfortable. Even a no labels hack like Joe Scarborough just couldn't take any more of it. Listen to this. This goes on after the red line. Then the question turns to Aleppo and the refugee situation there. And listen to this back and forth between Barnacle and Mook until Scarborough steps in.
We've had a relief convoy bombed, potentially a war crime, leading into Aleppo. What would you do, Secretary Clinton, about providing food, water, and medicine to the citizens of eastern Aleppo today, right now, differently than what the Obama administration is doing? What would she do differently?
I think you're going to have to ask her that question. That's a matter of policy. I'm going to leave it her to determine that.
We love you, buddy, but what are you here for? If you can't answer basic questions that, I don't know if there's we may be tiptoeing into Gary Johnson territory here. If you don't know the answer to that basic of a question, what is the response to Aleppo? Then why do we have you here?
I think.
Why am I here?
Look, you're asking new policy questions. You would have to ask the secretary for that. My job's not to set policy.
Syria's been around for some time. The red line being drawn has been around for some time. I'm not being difficult here at all. These are basic questions.
And I'm not being difficult either. I'm simply saying that she has laid out a plan to defeat ISIS. And if there are new questions pertaining to Aleppo, I'm going to need to let her answer those. And she will answer those in the debate. And we look forward to her having the opportunity to do that. And as I said, Donald Trump has been unable to release a plan. And we hope that he will reveal what his plans are in the debate.
And he's smarter than the generals, or knows more.
Grandmommy won't let me answer the question about Aleppo. I'm not allowed to talk about that. I get grounded.
Yeah. I don't want a timeout. Don't make me answer the question.
This is absurd. This is, this campaign has been in the surreal territory for a long time, maybe even in the absurd territory. But just when you think you found the bottom, they dig and they find a new bottom. Hillary Clinton can't figure out why she's not up 50 points. This in a video to the Laborers International trying to, whip up the union base of the Democrats.
And I will fight back against so-called right to work.
right to work is wrong for workers and wrong for America. Now, having said all this, why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask?
No.
Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer. I need your help to get Donald Trump's record out to everybody. Nobody should be fooled. He proudly declared himself 100% right to work.
Yeah.
What happened to her voice? And does anybody care in the audience? Because no one's making it sound. She's speaking. Nobody talk. Grandma.
Has anybody asking themselves why Hillary Clinton is enough 50 points against anybody? I don't think that's a question nobody is asking except Hillary.
Dan, I'm trying so hard not to play the Gary Johnson Aleppo because it's right here. Just the first 10 seconds, please.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
Yeah.
It never gets old for me.
Yeah, that's Robbie Mook's dad.
Oh.
David in Lake Forest, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. I was very concerned looking at the video evidence in the Tulsa shooting when the fact that the officer that shot, Officer Shelby, I believe it was, this was not a one-on-one situation. So the fact that another officer deployed his taser while she shot is a clear indication that she lacked situational awareness of everything that was going on around her with all the other law enforcement support that was there. You know, and the fact that she does train and as a 5-year veteran, that gives me great cause for concern because it's clear from the video she lacks situational awareness, and that is situational awareness is a must for a police officer.
Maybe. Thanks for the call, David. Maybe.
I want to wait to look at the toxicology
situational
report.
So the male police officer who fired his taser was also there with the other police officers. And they must have believed, unless they had conspired to tase and shoot Mr. Crutcher, which I don't think is the case, and there's no evidence to suggest it, they must have thought he was reaching for a weapon or taking some kind of aggressive posture. Why do two officers, both in the same group of officers, respond simultaneously, one with a taser and one with her firearm? Maybe one thought it was a weapon and the other thought, a firearm, and the other thought it was going to be some kind of blunt instrument, something that wouldn't require the use of a firearm. I don't know, but I think that's a question that both officers are going to have to answer, and those answers will be illuminating.
And I think we should commend the people of Tulsa because they've had protests every night since his death. But nothing's gotten out of control. Yeah, nothing's gotten out of hand because they're respectful of other people's property.
Well, and
there's white people and black people protesting, and it doesn't matter. They've all been on the up and up.
And the facts in Tulsa are much more in controversy than the facts in Charlotte based on what we know today. Cecil in Plainfield. Hey, Cecil.
Hi.
Hi.
You're on.
Hi. Hey. First time caller, so I'm nervous.
No problem. Thanks for calling.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
What I'm wondering is why is Clinton and Obama so quick to put the blame on the police officers, but can't seem to muster themselves up enough guts to put the blame on Obama or something like that? They say Trump jumped to conclusions on the bomber, but they jump to conclusions all the time on these police officers.
Yeah, that's a good point, Cecil. Thanks for the call. It's a fair point, and the answer to that question is because everything that they say and do is filtered through a political prism. And so it is thinking about our political constituency groups, the solidarity and marginality that we've talked about on this show. And this is a constituency group, and that's a constituency group, so we're going to treat similar fact patterns differently based on who the aggressor is and who the victims are. That's the fact.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to focus in and talk about the big ideas behind the important issues. Enter Upstream Ideas online at upstream-ideas.com. Upstream Ideas, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted beliefs. Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now at upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to help encourage you to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit freer, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
No matter what type of business you're in, having a strong business banking partnership can help your bottom line. I'm Jeff Boundy, president of Cornerstone National Bank and Trust Company. We strongly believe that trust, service, and relationship are the cornerstone of a successful business banking partnership. Customers like Dr. Steichen of Northwest Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery agree.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Steichen of Northwest Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery in Arlington Heights, Elgin, and Lake Zurich. As an oral surgeon and business owner, I recognize the importance of relationships. I need a bank that responds quickly and creatively and understands the unique needs of healthcare practices. Cornerstone has been a valuable business partner, has helped me grow my practice and seize opportunities as they come up. Whether it's a line of credit, financing equipment, or real estate, Cornerstone is there for me.
Thank you, Doctor. Please visit cornerstonenb.com, or I invite you to give me a call at 847-654-3000 to explore a business banking partnership.
Equal Opportunity Lender, member FDIC.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. They'll also keep you cool this summer with temporary air conditioners for any situation, big or small. Call 630-834-6000. That's 630-834-6000 or charlesequipment.com. charlesequipment.com. Reserve now for summer festival season. History teaches us that America, the West, won the Cold War. The Soviet Union collapsed and millions were liberated from behind the Iron Curtain. But that's not how the Russians see it. To global communists, it was merely a strategic retreat. That's the theme of the film Collapse of Communism, The Untold Story by Robert Buchar. Join him to screen and discuss the film at a special free event hosted by the Heartland Institute in Arlington Heights. Buchar himself, a defector from Czechoslovakia, interviewed dozens of prominent defectors from the Soviet Union, former KGB agents, historians, and former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates to uncover the true story of how and why the Soviet Union fell. Global communism may be a shadow of its former self, but it's not dead, and neither is the desire of Russia to dominate the lives of others. Learn more at this free event at the Heartland Institute Wednesday, September 28th. Go to heartland.org to register or call 312-377-4000. That's 312-377-4000.
Hi, this is Dr. David Kolbaba. You know, hormone balance is a big deal. If your hormones are out of whack, it can account for so many health challenges like low energy and fatigue, spaced out memory, low sex drive, otherwise known as the dead in bed syndrome. Nothing excites you anymore with you watching more and more TV every night, misusing food or alcohol, and then there's the hair loss that you thought was age appropriate, and then the weight gain. Let me tell you about our specially priced dirt cheap hormone test. No blood, just saliva. Interesting that with over 33 years in private private practice, I've never seen normal hormone test results in the first go-around. And that's why you need to have us help you balance your hormones once and for all. So call our HealthQuest radio hotline at 800-794-1855. You can't get any cheaper than dirt cheap. No blood, just spit. Call 800-794-1855. Oh, and be sure to listen to HealthQuest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, this Saturday morning at 11. But for now, call 800-794-1855.
Collectors of coins, currency investors, and people who want to check out fantastic history make plans to attend the Illinois Numismatic Association's 57th Coin and Currency Show at the Tinley Park Convention Center today through Saturday. Admission and parking are free. Just bring your photo ID. This is one of the largest shows in the country with hundreds of dealers, the best coin dealers from all over the country. See displays valued at millions of dollars, U.S. and world paper money, gold and silver bullion, and a lot more. If you're a serious collector, an investor, or just want to find out more about coins, currency, and collectibles, this show is a can't miss. Saturday, lots of events for the kids, including a treasure hunt and a youth auction. Friday, don't miss the Fox Valley's coin auction at 5. Preview is before that. The Illinois Numismatic Association's 57th Coin and Currency Show. Today through Saturday at the Tinley Park Convention Center. Admission and parking are free with your photo ID. Get more information at ilnaclub.org. That's ilnaclub.org.
If you run a business, whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or construction, you know that commercial vans aren't one size fits all. Some vans are too small.
We're gonna have to make 2 trips.
Others too big.
Watch the top! Watch the top!
You need a van that's just right. That's where the Mercedes-Benz Metris comes in. It's the only available mid-size commercial van with unmatched safety features, a 2,500 2-pound payload, and enough cargo space to hold over 60 sheets of 4x8 drywall. It's big enough for the job, yet it's small enough to fit in your garage. It has a service interval of up to 15,000 miles and the highest residual value in its class, according to ALG. We won't give you a one-size-fits-all van. We'll do you one better, a commercial van that's sized just right for you. The 2016 midsize Metris. Mercedes-Benz. Vans born to run.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
These 2 white devils will be back to talk about the war on cops with Heather McDonald, author of the aforesaid book, at 6:06.
And he's back. Former disgraced congressman, now turned pedophile. We'll explain, and you'll hear from the alleged victim. But first, into the newsroom we go, and let's say good Thursday morning to Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, here are the stories we're watching for you. We're set to hear today from Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel on his new, more comprehensive plan, he says, for addressing public safety in the nation's third-largest city. Meantime, aldermen are reacting to that mayor's plan and are skeptical of the price tag attached. Chicago priest is accused of possessing child pornography. A student dies following a medical emergency at Willowbrook High School. And Texas County approves a settlement with Sandra Bland's family. Cubs beat the Reds to complete a sweep. Warm and humid today. Your forecast comes up after Fox. WIND Chicago News Time, 6.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. The National Guard's being deployed to Charlotte, North Carolina. After a second night of angry protests,
just know that all white people are devils.
His brother, Keith Lamont Scott's being shot dead, prompted this. Police say he had a gun and refused to drop it. The family claims he was just carrying a book. Police used flashbangs and tear gas after some protesters got violent. One man was shot, but not by cops, and is in critical condition. The governor's declared a state of emergency.
Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Duke Energy, all saying they don't think it's safe for their employees to be in downtown Charlotte, saying anybody who's non-essential, stay home. That's how bad it is. Downtown Charlotte, major business center in America, filled with tear gas canisters. The aftermath of last night. This is one of the many stores that was looted. In here, they wanted Red Bull and they wanted cigarettes, so they took the 5-finger discount. Police were badly outnumbered. 4 of them got injured.
Fox's Leland Vittert in downtown Charlotte. It was more peaceful in Tulsa. At a vigil for Terrence Crutcher, the unarmed black man killed by police last week. The officer who shot him now says she thought he might be reaching for a weapon. Both presidential candidates are reacting. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, Democrat Hillary Clinton says the shootings of black men in 2 cities adds more names to a long list of African Americans killed by police officers.
It's unbearable, and it needs to become intolerable.
Speaking at a predominantly black church in Cleveland, Donald Trump says he's deeply troubled by the shooting in Tulsa.
I don't know what she was thinking, but I'm very, very troubled by that.
Later during a Fox town hall, Trump said he would expand the use of stop and frisk, a controversial police practice that a federal court ruled can be discriminatory. Dave.
Rachel, as a ceasefire broke down in Syria and the U.S. and Russia blame each other, there was an overnight bombardment. Reuters reports around the Aleppo area killing 45 people. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
68 degrees at 6:02 on this first day of autumn. Morning, I'm Mike Scott. On AM 560, The Answer, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel set to deliver what he calls a more comprehensive plan for addressing public safety. His comments come as Chicago is seeing a spike in violent crime and dealing with the fallout from the 2014 shooting death of Laquan McDonald. But some Chicago aldermen are very skeptical about the price tag attached to Mayor Emanuel's plan that will be introduced at Malcolm X College tonight. AM 560's David Stewart at Chicago City Hall.
Superintendent Eddie Johnson says beyond attrition, the department will hire 516 patrol officers and promote hundreds of field training officers, sergeants, lieutenants, and detectives. He said the goal is restoring safety and trust.
In a world with so many guns and so many young people feeling left out in the economy, we're up against some difficult conditions, some difficult times. But we don't give up at CPD, and we don't stand down.
Some aldermen say Mayor Emanuel hasn't provided enough information on covering the cost, but he says he'll do it without raising taxes. David Stewart, NBC News Radio, Chicago.
A Wheaton College employee is banned from campus and on unpaid leave after he was charged with having child pornography on his personal computer. Benjamin Falker, 28 years old, is being held on $250,000 bail. New judge hearing the case against the widow of a disgraced Fox Lake police officer, Joe Glenowitz. Judge James Boras taking over for Victoria Rossetti, who recused herself for unspecified reasons. Melody Glenowitz is accused of helping her husband steal thousands from a police youth program. Philly beat the White Sox 8-3. Cubs over Cincinnati 9-2. The news service of Burger King breakfast. What's the best place to have your breakfast? How about on a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 croissant breakfast sandwiches for $4. Light flaky croissant piled high with savory sausage or delicious thick-cut smoked bacon. 2 croissant for $4. Only a Burger King. Price and participation vary. 6:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager laughs at the media coverage of Hillary Clinton.
New York Times says that Matt Lauer wasn't tough enough on Trump. Too tough on Hillary. The thought that the press is too tough on Hillary Clinton makes one choke. I have nothing to say because the absurdity of it is only acceptable if you live in the world of the New York Times mentality.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-467-5125. That's 1-800-467-5125. 1-800-467-5125. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop. You save. Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price can vary depending on your health, insurance company, and other factors not available in all states.
6:05. Let's check the roads this early morning in our AM 560 Traffic Center. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. We're seeing big delays on northbound Lakeshore Drive. Traffic is at a standstill from 31st to 18th, where there's a crash in the left lane. It's about a 10 to 15-minute delay, and this is backing up the inbound Stevenson as well. And it was already heavy farther south, but we're seeing significant delays between Cermak and Lakeshore Drive. Delays are as far south as Weber, so it's about 53 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive and 41 from the Tri-State. The outbound side of the Stevenson's good. Eden's all clear. The Kennedy delays out of the River Road toll, making a 28-minute ride. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 22. The Eisenhower, 43 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, outbound 31. Ryan, 26 minutes. 95th to downtown. I-57, Bishop Ford, both 30 minutes from I-80 to the merge. Adams Tollway has a delay now. Bussy to Lee. Traffic service of Accountemps. You know what you should be making? Visit accountemps.com/salary center. See salaries for more than 400 accounting and finance salaries where you live. It's your go-to source for accounting and finance salary information. Accountemps, a Robert Half company. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the aircomfort.com Weather Center, here's meteorologist Kevin Snyder.
Today, very warm and humid with some sunshine, high 83. Tonight, mostly cloudy, warm and humid with a shower in places, low 67. Clouds and sunshine with a shower in spots. For tomorrow, humid with a high 82. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
Officially 66 at O'Hare, 68 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Money Hour Radio Show, Saturday afternoons at 3 on AM 560 The Answer. Brought to you by Pure Shale Financial Group.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So you heard in Mike Scott's news report that Tiny Dancer is set to announce his new police policy of sorts, the hiring of some 500 police officers.
200 detectives.
Right, to clear cases. And have more
Yeah.
manpower for the investigation and resolution of cases, particularly violent crime cases. So I'm glad to see it only took him 6 years to figure out we've got a violent crime problem.
Well, yeah, he
in
let people
Chicago.
know. Yeah, yesterday was on Nightly News that we don't know what's been happening the past few years, but we have a problem here. Oh, really? Thank you. Thank you for just coming to the big table.
It's breaking news.
Wow.
Rahm Emanuel finds out that Chicago has a violent crime problem. And then the issues in Tulsa and Charlotte this weekend. Hillary Clinton in Orlando talking about the economy, but took a moment for an aside to discuss the shootings in Tulsa and Charlotte. And notice what she did.
I'm sending condolences and prayers to their families. I know a lot of you are as well. There is still much we don't know about what happened in both incidents, but we do know that we have two more names to add to a list of African Americans killed by police officers in these encounters. It's unbearable, and it needs to become intolerable.
And then she went on to say nice things about police officers don't injure police, like we've seen 16 Charlotte police officers injured over the last couple of days. But kind of undermined by the prefatory statement where she does not distinguish between Charlotte and Tulsa or fact patterns in general in these cases. And there is much to distinguish between the two. You know, we've talked to Dean Angelo, the president of the FOP in Chicago previously. And remember what he said in terms of statistics. Now, look, one person wrongly losing their life, one person being abused by a police officer is one too many. I can see the point. I'm not like the left. I don't treat other people's lives cavalierly. But in Chicago, this year so far, 3,000 civilian-to-civilian shootings, 11 police officer-involved shootings.
Of those 3,000?
No, separate and distinct.
Right, okay.
But, I mean, 11, and in most
So is that an epidemic? Is that a pandemic? I mean,
right,
no.
most of those shootings not in controversy, right, in terms of their justification. So the idea, to your use of the word epidemic, which is what a lot of those individuals prosecuting the case against police suggest, boy, I don't know if the evidence merits that description. But for more on this, let's turn to an expert. We're happy to be joined again by Heather McDonald, scholar at the Manhattan Institute and the author of the best-selling book, The War on Cops. Heather, thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on, Dan and Amy. I'm glad to be here.
And so your reaction to the reactions of the with respect to the shootings in Tulsa and Charlotte?
Well, it's the typical ginning up of the narrative again. And as you rightly say, we need to look at these cases in an individual basis, of course. And the families of both victims are grieving, and they're facing a horrific reality of their loved ones being killed by the police. And the police rightly face a higher standard than criminals. On the other hand, to have slotted these shootings, in particular the Charlotte shooting, into this false narrative that we have an epidemic of racially biased police shootings is opportunistic, dangerous, as we've seen with the outbreak again of violent anti-cop, anti-white riots in Charlotte, and just completely unacceptable in a public figure.
I mean, here you have Keith Scott's brother calling all white police officers white devils, and all white people in general are white devils. His daughter saying this morning that she believes that the police planted the gun. The way to solve all this, I think, is to release the body cam and dash cam video, but they're not doing that yet. And do you have any idea why they're not doing that? And do you think it would help if they did release it so we could actually see a gun instead of a book?
I don't know. They have a law that takes effect in a week that restricts release of video, but I don't know why they're not doing it now. It does seem like it's very poor strategic decision making on their part. But the fact of the matter is, Amy, the data simply do not prove, or they dispute, the Black Lives Matter narrative. Blacks in this country are actually killed by the police at a lower rate than their violent crime rates would predict. As you say, in Chicago, over 3,000 people shot. My figures have about 18 officer-involved shootings. The vast majority against suspects who are armed or dangerous. That's 0.6% of the total. And a much larger proportion of white and Hispanic homicide victims die by police shootings than black police shootings. So we've been having this phony narrative about phantom police racism for the past 2 decades in order not to talk about a much more difficult and painful truth, which is the extremely elevated rates of black-on-black crime. That is the way the vast majority of black victims die. And if we could bring that crime rate down, any alleged police problem would simply go away, because policing is an epiphenomenon of crime.
And, yeah, I mean, to your point, in Chicago, north of 500 murders this year, 75% of the perpetrators are African-American, 75% plus of the victims are African-American. So, I mean, in terms of, as you suggest, the rank order of priority of where the problems lie. You have written extensively in your best-selling book, The War on Cops, as well as on the editorial pages of the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere, about the so-called Ferguson effect. And just kind of explain what you think is happening with police officers in response to this escalating war of words and the fomenting of discord between the populace and police.
Police are backing off of proactive discretionary policing. They are not getting out of their cars to make that discretionary stop at 2 a.m. to question a suspect hanging out on a known drug corner who's hitching up his waistband. They don't have to make those stops. They do have to respond to 911 calls, and they're still doing that with alacrity. But having been told by President Obama, Hillary Clinton, the Justice Department, the entire mainstream media, all of academia, and, of course, the violent activists, that they're racist for engaging in proactive policing and public order, low-level enforcement, officers have gotten the message. They're backing off. Additionally, when they do get out of their cars today, they are faced with a level of hatred and vitriol that they've rarely experienced. I was in June in Chicago and talked to an officer who told me he's never experienced so much hatred in his 19 years on the job. He said it's basically an undoable job now.
And just as an aside to that, Eddie Johnson, the African-American police chief in Chicago, who's been on the job for 3 decades, said exactly the same thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
No, I just said Eddie Johnson, our police chief, African-American police chief in Chicago, has been on the job for 30 years, said exactly the same thing that you relate in your encounter with police here?
Well, the Chicago Tribune recorded that 1 hour long video of a group of kids taunting officers who were investigating a shooting. One of them set off a shooting in an alley just for the fun of seeing cops run in aid of another victim, possibly, and it was all a fake shooting. But when officers back off of proactive policing, and in Chicago, stops were down 82% through July this year, crime goes up in high crime areas because that's where policing is most necessary. So Chicago is the prime example of what I've called the Ferguson effect. When cops back off, lives are lost. And when they back off, another thing happens. They are ignoring the heartfelt requests of law-abiding residents in those communities for public order. The reason that they cleared the corners, which was a term used by the Justice Department in lambasting Baltimore Police Department for alleged racism, completely unfairly, but the reason cops do try and remove those loitering youth that are hanging out by the dozens, if not hundreds of corners fighting, is because that's out of those knots of loitering youth, drive-by shootings emerge, and the law-abiding residents want them off the street. So the police are in an absolutely impossible situation. If they respond to the desire of the law-abiding residents in their communities for public order, they generate the same racially disproportionate statistics that can be used against them in the next Obama Justice Department or ACLU lawsuit.
So, Heather, you've studied this thoroughly, obviously great work and a wonderful book, but what was the turning point where kids and thugs and gangbangers stopped respecting police?
I'm sorry.
Is there any one?
What was the turning point?
Yeah, is there any one incident in particular that where it flipped, where now kids are playing with police doing this cat and mouse game and just wanting to watch them run away when they hear gunshots? What was the turning point?
Again, I'm having a hard time. What was the turning point in making the police back off? I think that's what you're asking. They're backing off out of just cumulative anger and hostility. But certainly the Black Lives Matter movement, with the false narrative of hands up, don't shoot, that continues to be promulgated by the media, not just by activists, and just the cumulative disorder and hatred, has officers across the country saying you'd have to be crazy to get out of your car to make that stop if you don't have to. When the prosecutions were brought against the 6 officers in Freddie Gray, thank heavens that fabulous judge who followed the law and the evidence rather than the politics of the case acquitted 2 of the officers, and it was clear he was going to acquit the other 3, and there was a hung jury. He followed the law, but the very fact that those indictments were brought that were attempting to criminalize normal policing, that was a blow for officers across the country.
And with a story also out in Chicago this week, in addition to the hiring of more police officers, is Chicago police undergoing required de-escalation training. Now, de-escalation is a part of a police officer's job. You try and de-escalate a situation, not escalate it. But do you see some of this de-escalation training, the move in this direction, as essentially codifying the Ferguson effect?
It could well, and the idea about hiring more cops, that's fine, and bigger is sort of better with police. But unless they are reassured that they will be supported for making proactive policing and for use of force if that force goes awry, and they have not engaged in criminal conduct, 500 more officers isn't going to make much of a difference if they continue driving by disorderly conduct on corners. And the de-escalation techniques, at least that is tactical. What I really object to is something that President Obama and Hillary Clinton have been foisting on, and Attorney General Lynch have been foisting on departments, which is implicit bias training, which is a complete fraud based on the utterly false idea that we're living through an epidemic of racially biased shootings. If de-escalation works on communication skills, that would be a good thing. But what officers are really desperate for is hands-on tactical training. I talked to an officer in Chicago who actually pays for his own training in making those agonizing split-second judgments about shoot, don't shoot. That's what officers need.
All right. She is Heather McDonald, a scholar at the Manhattan Institute, the author of the book, the best-selling book, The War on Cops. Heather, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you again, Dan and Amy. I'm honored to be on.
And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
See Alan West, Michelle Malkin, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Mike Gallagher, townhall.com political editor Guy Benson, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Joe Walsh at Freedom Summit Chicago 2016. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
More people are taking knees, but wait until you hear this one. First, here's your forecast. Very warm and humid with some sunshine, a high of 83 degrees for your first full day of fall. Then tonight, mostly cloudy, a shower in places. And tomorrow, Friday already, clouds and some sun, a shower in spots, humid and remaining warm, a high of 82 degrees. Let's get those travel times. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Amy. Northbound Lakeshore Drive jammed. Solid 31st to 18th. There's a crash there in the two left lanes, and this is backing up the inbound Stevenson from Cermak to Lakeshore Drive. Delays on northbound I-55 start around Weber. Now looking at 55 minutes from 355 to the Drive 42 from the Tri-State. The Edens is 22 minutes, Lake Hook to the junction, outbound 19. The Kennedy, 29 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 25. The Eisenhower is 53 minutes, Thorndale to the Loop, outbound 33. The Ryan, 28 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 30 minutes, I-80 to the Verge. The entrance from Holstead is blocked with a crash. Bishop Ford at 35 minutes. And northbound Tri-State, stop and go now. 95th to 83rd, Plainfield Road to the Hinsdale Oasis, and from the Reagan Tollway to the Eisenhower. That's traffic on AM 560, The Answer.
Guys, when it comes to your health, you know your numbers. You may know your blood pressure and cholesterol, but do you know your testosterone number? I know mine. Low T Center made it easy. I went to the Low T Center, took a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, I was able to get my results in minutes. If you're a man over 40 and have noticed a decline in energy, stamina, or libido, you may have low testosterone. Low T levels make you feel tired and grumpy, can raise your cholesterol, and even cause weight gain. And in honor of Prostate Health Month, Low T Center is offering a $50 testosterone and prostate level test. So, guys, if you don't know your numbers, haven't met your deductible, or don't have insurance, you should take advantage of this offer. It's quick, easy, and you get your results in about 20 minutes. Do yourself a favor. Call 630-409-4305. Tell them Dan Proft sent you. That's me. That number, 630-409-4305. Or visit them online at lowtcenter.com.
A couple years ago, I had a severe accident which disabled my right hand and caused chronic pain and complete suffering. It took many years before really we figured out exactly what it was or how to treat it. My whole goal was I did not want to be on high levels of pain medicine. After some time, I went to see Dr. Kenneth Candido to try to figure out the source of the pain and a solution and how to solve it. He listens. I'm going to cry because it's so real. I've been through so much, and he wants to help his patients, and he's there for me whenever I need him.
This is Ken Candido of Chicago Anesthesia Pain Specialists. I have a simple message for you. If you or someone you love or someone you know has chronic pain, contact us. Treating chronic pain issues is what we do. We can make it better. Get an appointment and let's talk. MyPainChicago.com, MyPainChicago.com. All the info is available at MyPainChicago.com. Let's make you pain-free.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing, independently owned business bank. Signature Bank listens to your story, learns about your business, and sticks with their customers. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Brian Duncan, co-founder of Signature Bank. Born and raised in Chicagoland, my partners and I knew this city needed a locally owned business bank. As fellow entrepreneurs, we know the challenges facing businesses, and we are invested in our customers' success. We are here to build mutually beneficial, long-term, lasting relationships with our customers. We look forward to helping our customers reach their goals every day, and we are here to see them succeed. At Signature Bank, you work directly with decision makers who understand your business and can deliver on their promises.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, how silly is this protesting the national anthem getting? You haven't heard anything until you hear the story. Clay Travis tells. Clay Travis is he's the founder of Outkick the Coverage. He's a really funny guy. He's one of my kind of new favorite sports pundits. He's also on Fox News. He's got a radio show, Outkick the Coverage radio show. And he tells a story of his wife participating in a neighborhood fun run. Listen to this.
This past weekend, Friday night, my wife went on a fun run in our neighborhood. It's like one of these glow runs or something, like for cancer research. You run like a 5K. I'll be damned if they didn't sing the national anthem before this fun run. Whatever, there's margaritas, beer. It's a charity event. Nobody's trying to set the record in the 5K. A dude took a knee while an 8-year-old girl sang the national anthem in the local neighborhood charity run. Can you try harder than to take a knee while an 8-year-old girl sings a charity run national anthem in a local neighborhood in this country?
Can you be a bigger ass, right?
I mean, it's just, it is. There's a little league football team. The principal and a few of the players went behind the bleachers and took a knee. There's reports of a marching band taking a knee while they're playing the national anthem. All these girls' soccer teams are doing it. High schools from Massachusetts to Florida to California are taking a knee.
I mean, 100 people at a neighborhood fun run. Hey, I'm taking a knee over here. I'm with Cap. I mean,
I'm down with the struggle. White dude taking a knee.
Here's taking a knee is synonymous with lemmings to the sea.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
For over 4 years, foreclosure defense attorney Lou Bridges has shared the truth about foreclosures. For as little as $80, you can advertise your business in Lou's show on AM 560 The Answer. It's easy. Your advertisements will be professionally written and produced. You'll get credible exposure for your business on a radio station that touches listeners in 4 states. All sponsorships in the show are category exclusive. All sponsors must pass a rigorous vetting process prior to Lou endorsing and recommending your company to his listeners. Lou is looking for sponsors in the following categories: credit repair, HVAC, moving, siding, roofing, banking, IRS tax resolution, car dealers, painting, remodeling, and lawyers. Don't delay. Find out today how you can reach potential customers for only $80 a week with the Lou Bridges Show. To become a sponsor on AM 560 The Answer, call Larry Chappell now at 847-312-8197. That's 847-312-8197. The following is a paid political announcement.
I want you to know that Steve Reich will be the best representative for McHenry County. Steve knows you have to walk on both sides of the road, and he sees rising property taxes driving out homeowners who thought they'd get help. Well, Steve Reich will fight for tax relief that will also grow the local economy. And I know Steve Reich will have a strong voice for the farmers. Steve will work for you and everybody in McHenry County. Elect Steve Reich for state representative in the 63rd District.
Paid for by citizens to elect Stephen Reich.
If you're familiar with cloud computing, you probably know that Amazon Web Services offers a complete set of secure compute, storage, application, and deployment services that help companies launch and scale their IT infrastructures while lowering costs. But did you know that you're still responsible for protecting your own AWS-based assets, meaning your applications and data, from advanced cyber threats? Protect your AWS with Barracuda Network's advanced firewall solutions. Visit AWS Marketplace or barracuda.com/AWS to learn more. AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Senator Ron Johnson, chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, joins us to explain why denial of reality is the greatest security threat facing America.
But first, let's go into the newsroom and say good morning once again to Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, good morning. Good morning, everyone. We have a cloudy skies, 68 degrees. A second night of violence in Charlotte, North Carolina is over. Streets quiet this morning, but some major employers are telling their workers to stay home, and Charlotte's mayor is looking for solutions after those violent protests.
When I look at the protests in the streets when they turn violent, that is not who we are. And I am calling for calm. I'm calling for peace, telling people to stay home or to protest peacefully.
Governor Pat McCrory is also initiating efforts to deploy the National Guard and State Highway Patrol to help police Charlotte. Investigators want to talk to 2 men seen on surveillance video walking away with a suitcase allegedly left behind on a New York street by bombing suspect Ahmad Khan Rahami. Rahami seen leaving that suitcase behind. Then minutes later, 2 men open that case, remove a wired pressure cooker, and walk off. Yahoo is expected to confirm this week that a massive data breach has exposed the information of tens of millions of users. The tech news website Recode says Yahoo's been investigating claims that a hacker was trying to sell usernames, passwords, and birth dates of Yahoo account users on the black market. Recode said the breach could affect up to 200 million accounts. House Speaker Paul Ryan says the House will vote to override an expected veto of a bill allowing families of 9/11 victims to sue Saudi Arabia. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel delivers his new, more comprehensive plan for addressing public safety in the nation's third largest city this evening at Malcolm X College. Teachers are casting ballots in Chicago on whether they support a strike. Members of the CTU began voting for strike authorization yesterday. Voting lasts through Friday. And a Chicago Catholic priest removed from his pastoral duties while authorities investigate questionable material stored on his computer. He's been charged with possession of child pornography. The Reverend Octavio Munoz Capetillo appeared in court Wednesday, bond set at $50,000. Philadelphia over the White Sox 8-3. Cubs beat Cincinnati 9-2. And the news has service of Burger King's breakfast. What's the best place to have your breakfast? How about on a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 Croissantwich breakfast sandwiches for just $4. A light, flaky croissant, piled high with savory sausage, or delicious, thick-cut smoked bacon. 2 Croissantwich for $4, only at Burger King. Price and participation vary. 6:33, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Sean Hannity finds Trump's approach refreshing.
Donald Trump is a risk taker. Donald Trump is not afraid to speak his mind. Donald Trump, showed that you can take a position of strength and take a risk and stand on your position. And lo and behold, instead of making an apology tour like Obama, other countries will respect your strength. He's willing to say what needs to be said. It's actually refreshing.
The Sean Hannity Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Remodel your kitchen with Galaxy. Buy one cabinet and get one free with free financing and design services. Call 773-783-8300.
Here's microbiologist Dr. Kim O'Neill talking about balance of nature.
Scientific research has shown that many cancers and lifestyle diseases can be prevented with a diet rich in fruits and vegetables. This prevention comes from the phytochemicals in the plants. They fight against oxidants that damage the cell's DNA, causing mutations that lead to disease. I don't take any supplementation, but I take Balance of Nature because I know, I've seen it in my lab, and I know that it works. I've seen the immune response increase, I've seen your DNA repair capacity increase, and I've seen DNA protection. And that, to me, as a scientist, rings so true, and it's only natural.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code Chicago.
6:35. Let's get an update on the roads. AM 560 Traffic Center time. Here's Jim.
Thanks, Mike. Eden's inbound delay started Gulf Road, 28 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 19. The Kennedy, 30 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 31. The Eisenhower, 53 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, outbound 33. Stevenson is an hour and 2 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. The worst is from the Rye to Lakeshore Drive with a crash on northbound Lakeshore Drive at 18th and the 2 left lanes. Lakeshore Drive
crude populace
around 31st
today.
Street. On the inbound Ryan, we're looking at 28 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 25 minutes, I-80 to the Murray Division, 435. Northbound Tri-State stop and go Cicero to the 83rd Street toll, Plainfield Road to the Hinsdale Oasis, and from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue. Traffic service of the DEA Heroin and Opioid Awareness Week. The epidemic is real. Heroin overdoses have risen 244% in just 6 years. Time to speak up, look out, and help save our communities. Visit GetSmartAboutDrugs.com to help someone you know struggling with pill abuse or heroin. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte. AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center, providing the right climate for business since 1935. Warm and humid today. Sunshine will pop out on occasion. High 83 and a warm and humid night ahead. Low 67. 68 at O'Hare. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Advanced Planning Advisors, bringing you Smart Money Talk with Mike Moylan and Rob Curvin, Saturday mornings at 6.
See Alan West and Michelle Malkin at Freedom Summit Chicago 2016. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So, boy, it's been an interesting week in New York. Obviously, the terrorist attacks and the bombings in Chelsea, but the heads of state that have descended on New York because of, to address the UN, as President Obama did on Tuesday. Rodrigo Duterte is in the news again. Our favorite rogue, despot of sorts. There's been a series of unsettling extrajudicial killings that apparently have been at the behest of President Duterte in Philippines. Part of it's to eradicate the drug trade, but
right, he's going about it in a bit of a different way, right?
Kind of an ends justify the means guy. But to the EU, because the EU statement urged him to end these killings and launch an alternative campaign in line with international human rights. He said in response to that. Now, remember, Mr. Duterte, the president there, previously said that President Obama was the son of a whore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So he's a little colorful with the language. He said about the EU condemnation, F you, EU. I read the condemnation of the EU against me. I will tell them, F you. You're doing it in atonement for your sins. The EU has the gall to condemn me. I repeat, F you. And not necessarily the traditional language of diplomacy you're hearing from the Philippines president. I thought that was interesting. But Senator Ron Johnson, we mentioned this the other day, he gave an interesting interview with the Wall Street Journal, their opinion journal video series that they post online. And in it, he was asked by a member of the Wall Street Journal editorial board, what is the greatest threat facing the United States in terms of national security? And he said the denial of reality. And Dr. Zuhdi Jasser from the American Islamic Forum for Democracy agreed with Senator Johnson and had his take on it. Why don't we get the take in terms of what that statement means precisely from the source itself? We're pleased to be joined again by Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, chairman of the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee. Senator Johnson, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. So that statement that the greatest threat facing the United States, it's not Putin, it's not ISIS, it's the denial of reality, a kind of categorical threat. Explain what you meant by that.
Well, all those others are obviously huge threats, and what I really meant by that, I've been really saying that for a couple of years. If you remember, Admiral Mike Mullen said that the greatest threat to our national security is our debt deficit. We aren't doing anything about it. Over the next 30 years, it's projected our deficit will accumulate $103 trillion worth of additional debt. That'd be tacked onto our $19 trillion debt. Is completely unsustainable. And if you can't be economically strong, you can't be militarily strong, you can't defeat ISIS, you can't secure your border. I mean, everything kind of flows from that. But, yeah, just across the board, certainly what I've seen, I come from a manufacturing background. I solve a lot of problems. The first step in solving any problem is you have to actually admit you have one. You can't deny the reality. You have to properly define it. And what I see here in Washington, D.C. is just across the board, people simply not acknowledging these enormous challenges facing this nation. Take a look at ISIS. I was the U.S. I was appointed by President Obama as the U.S. representative to the United Nations General Assembly 2 years ago and again this year. 2 years ago, President Obama gave a pretty forceful speech asking modern elements of Islam to renounce and reject this perversion of their religion. This year, barely a mention of it. He mentioned military use one time, saying we'll have to defeat ISIS militarily, I guess someday. It was back in September 2014 they actually laid out the goal toward ISIS, which is defeat it. That was 2 years ago. It took us 4 years to defeat Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. I'm talking to different ministries and different delegations when I was at the UN that surround the area. It's a lack of American leadership is the exact reason why ISIS has not been defeated in over 2 years. And as long as they're there, they're going to continue to train people. They're training little children to behead their enemies. They're starting to send out operatives through the migrant flow. We're concerned about lone wolf attackers here in the United States. Well, we've seen wolf packs directed by ISIS, probably in Brussels, probably in Istanbul airport. So this is a growing, it's a real, it's a metastasizing, it's an evolving threat. And President Obama, I think, is just basically in state of denial. Take a look at what he said about Syria. So the only solution in Syria is diplomacy. That's not going to work. Diplomacy follows facts on the ground. And right now the facts on the ground are that Iran and Russia and Assad are pretty well in control of their territory, and they are attacking the opposition. They're not defeating ISIS.
Diplomacy after 500,000 dead, excuse me. Rudy Giuliani opines in USA Today, no leader can achieve victory against an enemy by pretending he does not exist, suggesting that both President Obama and Hillary Clinton have been derelict in the fight against terrorism. Is that a characterization you subscribe to as well?
Well, certainly Hillary Clinton was derelict in her duty when it came to Benghazi. Repeated requests asking her to beef up security at the consulate. She didn't do it, and as a result, therefore, dead Americans. And then she had the gall to bald-faced lie to the surviving family members when she was Secretary of State and welcomed those bodies back to the Air Force, to the airport here. It's again, if you're not willing to even name the enemy, how do you expect to defeat it? And there's no way that we are going to stabilize the situation in Syria without American leadership, and we're not providing the leadership that's going to be required.
All right, then what should we do with these war refugees from Syria?
What we really ought to do is stabilize the situation in Syria. Now, I realize the world community is talking about refugees. What they ought to be talking about is how do you stabilize the situation in Syria? We should come together as a civilized world, elements of NATO and the Gulf states, and we should establish no-fly zones, safe havens. We should defeat ISIS. If we defeat ISIS, we take over the territories that they control. That changes the facts on the ground. I believe Putin would be far more willing to negotiate what would be a transition government. Until we do something like that, until we actually provide safety for the citizens in Aleppo, Russia and Iran and the Assad regime will continue to barrel bomb them and to continue the slaughter. In September 2014, at that same date, there were about 200,000 Syrians who had been slaughtered as of September 2014. Now we are talking close to 500,000 because of a complete lack of leadership on the part of the civilized world, but it's got to be America that has to lead the civilized world.
And the Kerry Lavrov-Syria deal appears to have lasted as long as the Molotov-Ribbentrop deal in a bygone era. Walter Russell Mead writes this about Putin. What President Obama misses is that one of Putin's most important strategic goals is to make Barack Obama look like a fecklessly incompetent, groveling wimp. This is worth billions of dollars to Putin and strengthens Russian power all over the world. And he's speaking, he's providing this characterization specifically in the context of Syria.
Well, I think Putin's goal is to increase his influence in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe, and he's able to do it because of President Obama's feckless leadership. I don't think he has to prove that point. I think it's just kind of an obvious fact that President Obama has had a strategy. It's been a strategy of peace through withdrawal and has been a miserable failure. So the only way to achieve peace is through strength. It starts with economic strength. Our economy hasn't been realizing even close to its full potential because of over-regulation, that enormous regulatory burden and uncompetitive tax system, an ideology here in the States that is artificially driving up the cost of power, which does not make us competitive globally. So again, we have to get the policy right here in the United States to actually spur strong economic growth, so we can be strong militarily, so we can actually project and lead with American values. That's what it takes.
Now, as chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, obviously you're well aware of Rahami and what happened in New York and New Jersey. Do you believe he was motivated by the Taliban or a terrorist organization, or was this a family grievance because they, thought that they were being discriminated against with their chicken restaurant?
Well, I requested from the Department of Homeland Security what they call their alien file. I want to find out all of his travels. In open source news reports, it sounds like he traveled quite extensively into the Middle East. And there, once again, a number of signals that are just being missed by law enforcement. I'm not saying that's easy in any way, shape, or form. It's we are searching for a needle in the haystack. The problem is we're getting more needles, and the haystack is growing. That's why I go back to the first thing we have to do is actually defeat ISIS, so they stop inspiring people like Rahami. But no, this is a growing threat, and we're just not taking it seriously enough.
And do we have to maybe do a little bit of an examination of the procedures and protocols over at FBI and their communication with other intelligence agencies? Because this, slipping through the cracks after his father calls him in as a terrorist in 2014 is no longer an isolated incident. This has happened several times now.
We've seen it, for example, Omar Mateen. They had a 6-month investigation. They've concluded there's nothing really there, and so they ended the investigation, which means he was taken off the no-fly list and the selectee list. So I think we need to re-examine exactly what the procedures are in terms of ongoing investigations with people that clearly have some danger signals. It is an enormous challenge. What do you do with not guilty yet? But I think you have to put those markers in and maintain those databases, and you got to keep a closer eye on some of these people, particularly when they're engaged in that type of activity.
And I hope we keep a closer eye. I mean, Rahami's wife is in Dubai, his mother is in Turkey, and his brother is in Pakistan. Obviously, they're being interviewed by the FBI, but do you think they'll be allowed back into this country?
I have no idea. Those are all just individual circumstances. I do believe that our legal immigration system needs to be strengthened. Right now, our immigration system is completely broken. The principle that we should base our legal immigration system should be what is in the best interest of America and the American worker, and what do we need to do to keep this nation safe. There's really no reason to be taking risks when we let in refugees or immigrants, quite honestly. We can do full background checks, and if there are any questions, we don't let people in.
Well, and here's a piece to that story that's kind of underreported and under-discussed, and that's about non-citizens voting. You're up for re-election in November. Got a presidential election. People who aren't eligible to vote, voting cancels out the constitutional right of citizens of American citizens. There's a new study out from Tom Hitton over at Judicial Watch finds that up to 15% of non-citizens in the U.S. are voting. This following an Old Dominion University study in 2014 that found 6.5% of non-citizens voted in the 2008 election and 2.2% voted in the 2010 midterm elections. I mean, you're talking about small percentages that are big numbers and a big problem.
Well, it's one of the reasons I think voter ID is just a really reasonable response to make sure that a legal vote is not canceled out by an illegal vote. And we're also highly concerned about what Immigration and National Services had done, and now the news service is doing in terms of potentially pushing people into citizenship at a very rapid rate prior to the election. Both myself and Senator Grassley have a letter out to Secretary Jay Johnson asking, exactly what USCIS is doing in regards to rapidly increasing the granting of citizenship. What kind of corners are being cut from that standpoint?
And speaking of citizenship, real quick, how is it that 858 people that were supposed to be deported are now U.S. citizens?
Sloppy bureaucratic paperwork. We also have letters on that, trying to get to the bottom of that as well. So, no, you've got it. You've got a massive bureaucracy. It's not efficient. It's not effective, and right now it's being led by President Obama, who, let's face it, he wants to let a lot of people into this country and grant them citizenship, contrary to what the law actually states.
Yeah, so they can vote. Senator Ron Johnson, Chairman of the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. Yeah. The Answer.
Warm and humid today and some sunshine for your first day of fall, a high of 83. And tonight we have showers around here, and tomorrow some spotty showers. Otherwise, it's still going to be warm and humid, a high in the low 80s. Let's see if that crash on northbound Lakeshore Drive has cleared up. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Good morning, Amy and Dan. It has, but it's still really slow on northbound Lakeshore Drive from 31st to 18th, where that crash was, and that has caused additional delays on the inbound Stevenson. A travel time of an hour and 5 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive and 53 minutes from the Tri-State. Outbound now 45 minutes to 3:55. The Edens is 35 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 25. Kennedy, 43 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound 50. The Ike, an hour and 5 minutes, Thornhill to the Loop, outbound 43 minutes. Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown, northbound Tri-State. Slow, Cicero to the 83rd Street Toll. Plainfield Road to the Hinsdale Oasis, and from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue. Eastbound Adams Tollway, heavy from the Elgin Toll to 31, 59 to Barrington Road, and jammed from Bussey to the Kennedy. I see delays on the Reagan Tollway, Farnsworth to Winfield with a crash in the left lane. Jim Talamonte in the AM 560 Traffic Center.
I'm Lou Dobbs. The Fed chair wades into the presidential campaign. IRS commissioner asking Congress not to impeach him. Chipotle still struggling to regain sales. Those stories are next.
Bill Bennett here to tell you about Augusta Precious Metals. The stock market crash of 2008 wiped out as much as 50% of IRA or 401k accounts. Can you afford to lose again if the next crash comes? What if you could store your IRA or 401k where you can see, touch, and hold it in your hands? Well, with the Augusta Gold and Silver IRA, you can transfer retirement savings into physical coins and store them where you can actually hold them in your hands, where you can get your gold fast in a disaster. Call Augusta Precious Metals today at 855-222-6993 and receive a free gold and silver IRA guide. There is no obligation. It's rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Augusta Precious Metals enjoys a 98% 5-star customer satisfaction rating with TrustLink.org. Trust Augusta. Call Augusta Precious Metals today at 855-222-6993. That's 855-222-6993. 855-222-6993.
The Fed Chair Janet Yellen denying charges by Donald Trump that the central bank just rubber stamps the wishes of President Obama. Yellen says, quote, the Federal Reserve is not politically compromised, end quote. Economic reports due out today, including updates on jobless claims, existing home sales, as well as the index of leading economic indicators. The IRS Commissioner, John Koskinen, says he regrets his agency's mistreatment, as he put it, of conservative groups like the Tea Party, but he told the House Judiciary Committee he shouldn't be impeached. Tex-Mex restaurant chain Chipotle making yet another push to convince customers that its food won't make them sick. From April to June, Chipotle sales fell 24%. Please join me for Lou Dobbs tonight, 7 and 11 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
Need to get Hillary over there patronizing Chipotle again. You've heard me talk about how your business can profit from having an updated phone system at zero cost. The truth is, an outdated system can mean lost revenue. That's why AM 560 chooses to work with Innovative Networks. They excel at providing innovative solutions to reinforce your company's phone infrastructure and enhance call flow. We appreciate how comprehensive, diligent, and cost-effective Innovative Networks was in providing network solutions that scale as our business expands. Not only can they replace your outdated phone system at no cost, Innovative Networks will provide hands-on training to maximize your capabilities. You'll save money and be more focused on growing your business. AM 560 is thrilled with Innovative Networks, so follow our lead and call Innovative Networks at 312-889-9090. They're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. The number 312-889-9090, or visit go4inet.com. That's go, the number 4inet.com.
Somewhere in America, at just this moment, as you said listening to this radio show, there is a young person waiting to discover Ayn Rand's novels, waiting to have his or her life changed by the beauty of Ayn Rand's art and the logic of her ideas. Over the past decade, through ARI's Free Books to Teachers program, they have delivered more than 3 million copies of Ayn Rand's books to schools in every state. Right now, they are placing more than 5,000 copies of Anthem, The Fountainhead, and Atlas Shrugged in schools right here in Chicago. Since 2003, they have placed more than 50,000 of Ayn Rand's novels in the Chicagoland area. You can help reach young minds today. You can help reach more students within this listening area. Make your tax-deductible contribution now at AynRand.org/support. That's AYNRAND.org/SUPPORT.
I've suffered from psoriasis, mainly on the scalp, for 28 years. I went through 8 dermatologists.
If you suffer from psoriasis or vitiligo, you know the pain and embarrassment. Now there's a simple non-medication solution called Extract. Extract treats areas using a unique targeted light therapy.
You have no idea how thick the plaque was on my scalp. Now I'm very close to having clear skin. I'm thrilled with my results.
With clinical studies showing immediate results with up to 95% clearance, Extract simply works. Extract is covered by all major insurances and Medicare and will help you find a doctor close by.
I just want to thank you for the great results of my psoriasis thanks to Extract. My scalp hasn't looked and felt this good for years. I'm forever grateful for Extract.
Call now to live Extract Clear. Call 800-499-4281. That's 800-499-4281. 800-499-4281 or xtracradio.com. Qualified patients, certain restrictions apply.
Here's some great news. Jack Tabota of Tabota & Associates can help you with your retirement game plan. You know Jack, or you should. Jack is the president and founder of Tabota & Associates. He's been helping folks just like you retire successfully for 3 decades. Jack has the insight, information, strategies, and experience you can use to build wealth and keep it. Live good. Retire well with Jack Tabota of Tabota & Associates. 630-777-7955. 630-777-7955.
Unload the stress of the day at the Range at 355 in Bolingbrook across I-355 from the Bass Pro Shop. A new state-of-the-art gun range featuring a fully loaded store and comfortable instructional classrooms founded by patriots like you. Visit range355.com.
No matter what type of business you're in, having a strong business banking partnership can help your bottom line. I'm Jeff Boundy, president of Cornerstone National Bank and Trust Company. We strongly believe that trust, service, and relationship are the cornerstone of a successful business banking partnership. Customers like Rick Williams of Pump Supply agree.
Hi, my name is Rick Williams, owner of Pump Supply Incorporated. As a business owner, I recognize the importance of relationships. I need a bank that understands my business and is able to respond quickly and creatively to the needs of my company. Cornerstone has been a valuable business partner and has helped me grow my company and seize opportunities as I come across them. Whether it's providing a line of credit or financing the acquisition of equipment or real estate, Cornerstone has been there for me every step of the way.
Thanks, Rick. Please visit cornerstonenb.com, or I invite you to give me a call at 847-654-3000 to explore a business banking partnership.
Equal Opportunity Lender. Member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth. I had a failed root canal and it was causing me pain. Dr. Neruzzi took care of my tooth and I got my implant, and then I had another after that fail and he did that one as well. Places they'll tell you just, get the implant the day you get your tooth extracted. We'll do it all in one day. And he believes you do it all the right way, and he knows what he's doing, and he has an eye for detail that other dentists or periodontists do not have. There's no surprises because it's scary as it is, but he made it really, really comfortable. They're very accommodating to people that cannot afford to have it done. I would recommend Dr. Neruzzi to anybody, and I have given Dr. Neruzzi referrals, and I would refer him to anybody that's missing teeth.
This is Dr. Neruzzi. I personally guarantee your happiness with your implants. Go to implantsforme.com.
For missing teeth, dental implants are wonderful. The advantages are fantastic. Just remember, implantsforme.com. Implantsforme.com.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Should America be the world's policeman? We're pleased to be joined by a special guest at 7:07, former Denmark Prime Minister and NATO Secretary General, Anders Fogh Rasmussen at 7:07.
But first, let's go into the newsroom and check in with Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, the latest on Charlotte and Tulsa coming from Fox in just a moment. Chicago to hire nearly 1,000 police officers and get an address from the mayor today. Your forecast after Fox. WIND Chicago News Time, 7.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. Charlotte's under a state of emergency.
It's very sad to see some people whose only interest is to cause trouble.
North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory has deployed the National Guard after a second night of protests.
I could be at work, at school, in my car. I can still get shot by the police.
She and others
get shot anywhere.
She and others angry over Tuesday's deadly shooting of a black man. Police say Keith Lamont Scott had a gun he refused to drop. His family says it was a book. Some got violent last night. That was after a man was shot, but not by police. He's on life support. 6 others were hurt, 4 of them cops.
So much of the economy here in Charlotte is based on tourism, is based on conventions, those kinds of things. Already, Bank of America has told its employees to not even come to work. The Ritz-Carlton Hotel that the protesters tried to storm into, smash some of the cars in the valet. The question going forward is what is going to happen over the weekend?
Fox's Leland Vittert in Charlotte. There was a vigil in Tulsa, Oklahoma. For the unarmed black man killed last week, the officer says Terrence Crutcher didn't respond to demands and she thought he was reaching for a gun. Donald Trump has just reacted. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave Trump is calling for law and order and unity. He also told Fox and Friends he would use stop and frisk to curb crime in inner cities like Chicago.
You know, the police, the local police, they know who has a gun, who shouldn't be having a gun. They understand that.
A federal court ruled the tactic unconstitutional. Democrat Hillary Clinton says she doesn't have all the answers, but
this is certain. Too many people have lost their lives who shouldn't have.
Clinton said the shootings like those in Oklahoma and North Carolina are unbearable and should be intolerable. Dave.
Rachel, the new Fox poll gives Trump the lead in 3 battleground states, ahead of Hillary Clinton by 3 in Nevada. The Republican has a 5-point edge in North Carolina and Ohio. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Some clouds and sunrise in Chicago, 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning, I'm Mike Scott. Mayor Rahm Emanuel delivers his more comprehensive plan for addressing public safety at Malcolm X College this evening. Chicago police have already announced the department will hire nearly 1,000 more officers over the next 2 years. Emanuel is also pushing for a plan to overhaul Chicago's system for investigating police shootings and officer complaints, but many Chicago aldermen are skeptical about the price tag. We get the latest from City Hall and AM 560's David Stewart.
Superintendent Eddie Johnson says beyond attrition, the department will hire 516 patrol officers and promote hundreds of field training officers, sergeants, lieutenants, and detectives. He said the goal is restoring safety and trust.
In a world with so many guns and so many young people feeling left out in the economy, we're up against some difficult conditions, some difficult times. But we don't give up at CPD, and we don't stand down.
Some aldermen say Mayor Emanuel hasn't provided enough information on covering the cost, but he says he'll do it without raising taxes. David Stewart, NBC News Radio, Chicago.
A Chicago Catholic priest has been removed from his pastoral duties and has been done so while authorities investigated questionable material stored on his computer. Now, Reverend Octavio Munoz Capetillo has been charged with possession of child pornography, appeared in court on Wednesday. Students at a Brighton Park Elementary School will be back in classrooms again after they were evacuated. It was prompted by a hole found in the school's roof. Police were called to the Columbia Explorers Academy Wednesday to examine roof damage. A couple of hours later, police determined the damage had been done by fireworks and gave the all clear. Enrollment at the College of DuPage has declined for the second straight year. The number of full and part-time students enrolled this fall at the Glen Ellen School totals 26,000. That's a decrease of about 6.2% compared to last year. Chicago sports, Philadelphia beat the White Sox 8-3. Cubs over Cincinnati 9-2. And the news, a service of Burger King breakfast. What's the best place to have your breakfast? How about on a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 croissant breakfast sandwiches for just $4. Light, flaky croissant piled high with savory sausage or delicious thick-cut smoked bacon. 2 croissant, $4, only at Burger King. Price and participation may vary. 7:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The clock is ticking. The most important political event of the year comes to Chicago on October 29th. It's Freedom Summit 2016, featuring Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Michelle Malkin, AM 560's Mike Gallagher, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Joe Walsh. And just added, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, author of Defeating Jihad. Tickets start at just $39 and are available at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Chicago Anesthesia and Pain Specialists and by the Illinois Policy Institute.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs. And
Hillary Clinton is the chief emissary for globalism.
The highly rated term life insurance companies we represent, and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-467-5125. That's 1-800-467-5125. 1-800-467-5125. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop. You save. Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price can vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors not available in all states.
7:06. Let's check the roads in our AM 560 traffic center. Here's AM 560's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the inbound Edens, delays start around Glenview Road. It's 35 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 28. The Kennedy now 50 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound it's an hour. The Eisenhower's an hour and 10 minutes from Thorndale to the post office. 53 minutes from Manheim, outbound 50 to Thorndale. Stevenson, an hour and 10 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, 55 minutes from the Tri-State, outbound 43 minutes to 355. Ryan is 30 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 32 minutes, I-80 to the merge, Vision 435. Tri-State delays northbound are heavy from 111th to the Hinsdale Oasis, 47th to 31st, and from the Reagan Tollway to North Avenue. Eastbound Adams Tollway slow from the Elgin Toll to 31 and really slow busting to the Kennedy. Reagan Tollway bumper to bumper, 31 to before Winfield with a crash now on the left shoulder. Veterans Memorial stop and go from Boughton to the Reagan Tollway. Northwest Indiana's now fine. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. Here is our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
A humid day today with some sun, high 83. Mostly cloudy with a shower and spots tonight. Humid with a low 67. Then remaining humid tomorrow with clouds and sun along with a shower and spots, high 82. Mostly cloudy at night, low 66. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently, we have 67 degrees. Next news at 7:30, and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is powered by CharlesEquipment.com, keeping the lights on through summer storms.
Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
We got shots fired. One suspect down, Legacy Court.
Did you see any gun on him?
I did not. No gun. It was a book.
A weapon was seized, a handgun. I can also tell you we did not find a book that has been made reference to.
Guys, is there anything we should know?
Just know that all white people are devils.
Well, what about in Syria, though? She supported the drawing of the red line.
I think you'd have to ask
Was she
President
disappointed
Obama,
that the president didn't act when the line was crossed?
I think you'd have to ask her about that question, how she would characterize
well, you're here to speak
feelings.
for her, Robbie, so you haven't discussed that at all?
We love you, buddy, but what are you here for?
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. When the president spoke to the UN General Assembly earlier this week, his signature line in his speech that was a course correction for global integration, that was the theme of his speech. His signature line, particularly as it pertains to the look forward at this presidential election, was this.
Today, a nation ringed by walls would only imprison itself. So the answer cannot be a simple rejection of global integration. Instead, we must work together to make sure the benefits of such integration are broadly shared.
I don't know that anybody is rejecting the idea of global integration, even the accusations against Trump of being a neo-isolationist of sorts, saying I'm running for president of the United States, not president of the world. But that's a different thing. It's perspective. It's not the idea that we can ignore our Western allies and allies throughout the world, as well as deal with the trouble spots. I'm pleased to have a special guest to discuss this, and I was going to do this interview in my native tongue of Danish, because as you know, I'm 50% Danish, Amy.
Uh-huh.
But then I remembered I don't speak Danish.
Oh, so you have to go back to English.
So that would be difficult. But the good news is former Danish Prime Minister and former NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen speaks English. And we're pleased to be joined by him now. Prime Minister Rasmussen, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Thank
you for me.
So you've been quite busy penning op-eds, some very interesting ones over the last couple of days. One in the Wall Street Journal entitled "The United States Must Be the World's Policeman," and that has sort of a negative connotation, but I think the headline belies what you're saying. So when you say the U.S. should be the world's, or must be the world's policeman if we're going to have stability for freedom-loving people, what exactly do you mean in terms of a U.S. role?
Well, we need a policeman to restore law and order in the world. When you see the chaos and killings in the Middle East, Libya has become a failed state that is also a breeding ground for terrorism. Russia's reckless attack on Ukraine in Eastern Europe, China flexing its muscles in the South China Sea, the rogue state North Korea threatening neighbors and the U.S. with a nuclear attack, then it's very clear that we need a policeman to restore law and order in our world.
And just a clarification. The world's policeman sometimes to Americans sounds like, oh, here we go again, forays into nation building in the Middle East or far-flung places. And that's not necessarily what you're saying. You're saying provide leadership for, Western liberal small L thinkers, not necessarily get into the business of occupying and nation building.
No, not necessarily. But what we do need is determined American global leadership. And it's deliberately that I use the word policeman because in some camps it's a bit controversial. But coming from Europe, coming from a small country in Europe, having been prime minister of that country, having been Secretary General of NATO, I have a very clear message to the Americans. You should act as the world's policeman because the United States is the only capable, desirable and credible candidate to fill that post, not least because the U.S. is a benign democracy.
Well, just to further that point, though, when you say then America must be the world's policeman, what form does that take? Give me an example. America being the policeman to deal with Putin or other crooked autocrats you describe.
Well, of course, it can be in many forms that you conduct that task. And obviously, the U.S. shouldn't go it alone. I also argue that we, the Europeans, should engage more. We should pay more for our common security. But I'm really concerned that isolationism in the U.S. Would lead to a global vacuum, and that vacuum would be filled by the bad guys. We saw that before the Second World War. We have seen it time and again. So in due time before the American presidential elections, I am very clear in my message, my appeal to the American people, please make sure that the next president will really engage in the world.
Well, speaking of presidential candidates, Donald Trump once suggested that NATO forces should come together and help fight ISIS, that more of a global effort should be made to defeat terrorists. What say you?
Yeah, I was a bit disturbed by Mr. Trump's statements on NATO, not least because his statements raised doubts about our collective defense, and that is really undermining the credibility of NATO and our Article 5, and I am concerned that President Putin would test the resolve of our alliance. So he would be tempted to continue his challenge of the American-led world order that so successfully was established after the Second World War.
Now, in terms of concerns that you have, in another op-ed, you call for the next president of the United States to create a so-called alliance for democracy, bring together the world's democracies in a strong alliance for democracy. Is that a formal institution you're proposing? And if so, is that a commentary on the UN or even to some extent NATO in their current forms?
Well, it's not a new formal international institution, but rather a regular gathering of the world's democracies. I do believe that the American president has a convening power, and that convening power should be used to establish such an alliance for democracy under American leadership. It should be composed not only of North American and European countries, but also democracies across the world like Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, India, not least, because we need a stronger liberal democratic supremacy in the world to counter the still more aggressive autocratic forces.
Yeah, and I certainly agree with the premise of your statement, but let me ask this. The great Austrian economist Ludwig von Mises once said that he who wants to improve conditions must propagate a new mentality, not merely a new institution. Is there also a new mentality that needs to accompany these conferences, these alliances, these global institutions, a new mentality among the leadership of Western democracies?
Absolutely, yes. And I do believe that such an alliance for democracy could also push for profound reforms of the United Nations. And we really need that. On the one hand, we do need the United Nations as a forum for consultation and discussions among all the world's countries, whether they are democracies or autocracies. But on the other hand, we also need profound reforms, and I think they could be advanced by such an alliance for democracy. My point is that actually it is in the American self-interest to be the world's policeman, because if you retreat or is perceived to retreat, then the bad guys will hit in the U.S. as we saw 9/11, and the U.S. will prosper when peace and a rules-based world order is the dominant system in the world. So I think the Smith family in Peoria, at the end of the day, would realize how important it is to demonstrate determined American global leadership, and that is the U.S. should be the world's policeman.
So as former Secretary General of NATO, I wanted to go back to something else that Donald Trump said, the presidential candidate. He made several comments alluding to the fact that the U.S. would pull out of NATO, and how catastrophic would that be for the remaining 27 countries? Would you still have NATO?
If the U.S. were to leave, then you wouldn't have NATO any longer. The essence of NATO is a transatlantic cooperation on security. And it is because of that cooperation that NATO has served as the bedrock of North Atlantic security since NATO was established in 1949. So no doubt that if you raise doubts about the U.S. engagement in NATO, then NATO will gradually fade away.
I wanted to get your take on this administration's, the administration you've been critical of for leading from behind, their phraseology, their gambit with Iran. James Jeffrey, as a former U.S. ambassador to Turkey and Iraq, argued that Iran simply is not an acceptable partner in the war against terror. Is that an opinion you share as you talk about liberal democracies uniting to combat terror and other crooked autocrats?
Well, I do not trust the current regime in Iran. However, I don't think there is any realistic alternative to the agreement that was made. I think we should give it a chance, because the alternative would be that the Iranians would just continue their attempts to develop a nuclear weapon. And if they succeeded in doing that, you would start a nuclear race in the Middle East. So at least the agreement opens the possibility to monitor what is going on, to control what is going on. So I don't think there is any alternative. In general, I am very critical about the term leading from behind. It doesn't make sense to lead from behind. What we do need is the 45th President of the United States to lead from the front.
There it is. All right, we're going to leave it there. He is former Danish Prime Minister and former Secretary General of NATO, Anders Fogh Rasmussen. Prime Minister, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
See Alan West, Michelle Malkin, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Mike Gallagher, townhall.com political editor Guy Benson, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Joe Walsh at Freedom Summit Chicago 2016. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Some high clouds right now. It's warm, humid for your first full day of fall. A high of 83 degrees tonight, showers likely. And tomorrow we're going to start off your Friday with some showers and spots. And then away it'll be humid and remaining warm, a high in the low 80s. Let's get the latest on the travel times and how's northbound Lakeshore Drive doing. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Amy. Pretty heavy this morning on northbound Lakeshore Drive, 31st to Jackson. There was an earlier crash at 18th, so it's heavier than normal. Southbound, a little tight around Fullerton, and slow from 18th to the Stevenson. The southbound Tri-State has delays now from 120 to 137. Northbound, really rough from 115th to 75th. From the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis. From the Reagan Tully to North Avenue. Reagan Tully backed up Randall to before Winfield with a crash on the left shoulder. The Edens inbound. It's 35 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose. It's 30 outbound. The Kennedy, 50 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, outbound an hour. The Ike, an hour and 20 minutes, Thorndale to the post office, outbound 55 minutes. Stevenson, an hour and 10 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. And Ryan, 32 minutes, 95th to the Loop. That's traffic, AM 560, The Answer.
Here's David Kolsak, president of Turnkey IT, on how they do business differently.
It's been 20 years, and the business has changed probably 40 times in 20 years because technology changes every year, and you have to stay with it. You have to know where it's going and prognosticate where that is, and our clients really benefit from our knowledge and our experience and the way that we're reading the roadmap. We're putting them on things that are coming out in the future, and if it's not beneficial to the client, we won't be putting them on there. And a lot of people just fly by the seat of their pants. You know, we have a director of information technology that his job is only to scout new technologies and how they can affect a small business. Every business, no matter if it's a funeral home, a manufacturer, a car dealer, whatever, we all rely on our information, and when that information isn't available, your business is shot. So our main purpose is to really do our very best to keep people up 100% of the time, to keep them backed up and make sure that they can do what they do, and we can deal with the technical stuff.
Leave the technical stuff to the pros at Turnkey so you can focus on the important things of your business. Visit turnkey.pro today.
The big home show at the Pheasant Run Resort in St. Charles is finally here, this weekend only. If you're looking to remodel your kitchen, bathroom, basement, or maybe get a new roof, flooring, windows, or siding, then this is the event for you. At this two-day expo, you'll meet local and national contractors displaying their products and services. Get new ideas, set up estimates, and talk directly with contractors, many of which are offering huge discounts. Maybe you need a new furnace, insulation, or just a handyman. You'll find everything you need under one roof. Increase the value of your home and bring your friends and family. Special announcement! Attend the expo between 12 and 1 Saturday and Sunday to meet HGTV star Kelly Edwards and enter for your chance to win cash and prizes. The winner could be you. Remember, the big home show at the Pheasant Run Resort in St. Charles this weekend only. Get more information at homeshowevent.com. That's homeshowevent.com.
If you're serious about selling your home, now's the time. Supply is low, and it's a great seller's market in many Chicagoland neighborhoods. Now, I've done the research, and along with my Salem radio colleagues, Dennis Prager and Michael Medved, we all recommend that you call Saul. Saul Z and the Z team are so good that if they don't sell your home in 59 days, they'll sell it for free, guaranteed. Saul is ranked 106th out of 1.2 million agents by the Wall Street Journal. His proven marketing system is so effective that he sells on average a home every single day, attracting multiple full-price offers. Now, that demand helps sell your home fast at the highest price. It's a no-brainer. If I was selling a home in Chicagoland, I'd definitely call Saul. 888-346-0666 or call Saul, SAUL.net. Call Saul.net or 888-346-0666. You'd better call Saul.
AM 560. The Answer.
Dan and Amy, I relish this next story.
Oh, stop it. It's Anthony Weiner, but this one makes me want to find him and hunt him down and rip his eyeballs out because this time it's been revealed that he's been having an online sexual relationship with a troubled 15-year-old girl. And it's disgusting. I don't even think we can mention half of the stuff that he texted her. And then they texted pictures back and forth. But basically, she told him at the beginning she was a huge fan. Now, here's her voice. It has been digitized so that you don't know who she is.
I kind of stroked his ego by saying that I was a huge fan. And he immediately responded about 2 minutes later. And just started talking, and we talked the whole night. And as we were direct messaging, I checked my Facebook, and he sent me a friend request.
And the bottom line right there is he knew she was 15 years old. And he tried to encourage her to do things such as masturbation and take pictures.
Yeesh.
And he couldn't wait to pounce on her. I mean, it's just criminal.
We'd start and just be talking for about 30 minutes, and then a little bit later, he'd ask me to undress, and we'd start talking sexually. He asked me what I was wearing. He told me what he was wearing. Then he asked me to take my clothes off, and he just started saying all these really sexual things. But he knew I was in high school, and I direct messaged him on Twitter. It would just gradually escalate.
Yeah,
so he knew she was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah, so the good news there is that now he could be looking at up to 15 years in prison. Even Liberal Democrat Governor Andrew Cuomo suggested as much. And another just kind of related detail, his persona has changed from Carlos Danger to T-Dog.
T-Dog.
T-Dog. And so I know there's a Carlos Danger name generator because mine's Pasquale Scourge.
Right.
I'm waiting for the T-Dog name generator so I can maintain current status with this whole saga.
So in this situation...
So he's in hot water is the point.
Yeah, and this happened
this Wiener
last...
is in hot water.
Thank you. This happened last January when he and Uma were still on solid ground. Okay, and he was still doing this. He wouldn't get fully nude, but he would usually go shirtless and wear boxers, and he fantasized with her about raping her.
He'd comment on my body. He'd ask me about masturbation. Sometimes it would be like role playing. He would pretend like he was a teacher and I was a student. He'd talk about me sitting like at the front of his class and him taking me after school and schoolgirl outfits, the parochial schoolgirl outfits like the plaid skirts. He had some like rape fantasies. It'd just be him showing up at my house when my dad was out of town.
It just goes on. I mean, it is absolutely disgusting behavior. And guess what? The Daily Mail, who broke this story and interviewed that girl, they confronted Anthony Weiner, and he didn't deny any of the exchanges. He just classified them as flirtatious messages.
Oh, yeah. So you thought when he was sexting next to his 3-year-old son in bed, that was as low it could go.
Now he's a pedophile.
And, of course, you were wrong because there is no bottom for Anthony Weiner, except perhaps a jail cell. I wonder how...
Can he go to jail for this? You're an attorney.
He could face charges for this, certainly, and should. And I wonder how he's going to fare in prison. I wonder how this will be reviewed, because if he goes to prison as a sex offender, he's not going to Club Fed. And, boy, I hope so. He's going to have to spend a lot of time, if they offer it under protection from all of those who may not be so keen on his sexting, or by contrast, he may find some new sexting partners that he doesn't have to sext with. He can convene with them in the yard, the shower, elsewhere.
Don't drop the soap.
Look forward to that sequel to the Wiener documentary.
Yes. Behind bars, a wiener in prison.
Here's a spoiler alert. It doesn't end well.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
I've been taking the Balance of Nature fruits and veggie capsules for many years. What hooked me was something I wasn't expecting. I was playing golf with one of my friends, and midway through the round, he looks over at me and says, "What's going on here? You're killing me. Did you get new clubs or something?" It dawned on me that the only thing I'm doing different is taking Balance of Nature. I've been a 15 handicap golfer for a long time. 3 months after I started taking the fruits and veggies, I started dropping strokes off my handicap. Even my sons noticed I was playing better. I told them, when I started getting enough fruits and veggies in my diet, I felt better. Better concentration, better swing. When you feel better, you play better.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751 or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Read that text message. What was it?
Ann B. Davis's bowling ball reacting to the Wiener story and that woman you heard, the young girl you heard. That's not a 15-year-old girl. That voice was Janet Reno. We will investigate to confirm on that Ann B. Davis's bowling ball.
Hey, if you wanted to buy a MyPillow, well, if you have, you're in luck. For this month only, when you buy one premium MyPillow, you still get the second for free. Plus, you'll also receive 2 additional Go Anywhere MyPillows. So you're actually getting 4 pillows for the price of 1. It's the best offer ever. Nearly every AM 560 host endorses MyPillow. Why? Well, because it's the best. The National Sleep Foundation agrees because they made it their official pillow. It's washable. I love that. So it removes all the sweat and ickies that cause allergies, acne, asthma, and it's a great health investment, and you will sleep better. I know I do. So visit MyPillow.com, click the radio listener special tab, and use the promo code Amy. Again, 2 My Premium pillows for the price of 1 plus 2 Go Anywhere pillows. Or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201 and mention the radio listener special and use the promo code Amy. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Did both presidential candidates rush to judgment on the shootings in Charlotte and Tulsa at 7:37?
But first, here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, 65 degrees. New York authorities are trying to find 2 men this morning. They were seen taking a suitcase from a Manhattan street Saturday night after removing a pressure cooker bomb that was inside. The nation's top military officials are expected to face sharp questions inside the next hour as Republicans, angry at the Obama administration that they're not taking more aggressive steps to end the 5-year-old civil war in Syria, will question Defense Secretary Ash Carter and General Joseph Dunford. Donald Trump reacting to the violent protest over a deadly police shooting in North Carolina.
It's very divided, our country, and it's getting worse. So I'm not overly surprised to see it.
Trump on Fox News saying what's going on between police and others is getting worse. Protests over a police shooting of a 43-year-old, Keith Scott, on Tuesday turned violent again last night. Tech giant Apple may be in negotiations with McLaren Technology Group, the parent of the McLaren Automotive Group. Negotiations have been reportedly going on for months and could lead to the acquisition or investment in that company. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel will deliver his new, more comprehensive plan for addressing public safety at Malcolm X College this evening. Teachers here in Chicago are casting ballots on whether they support a strike. Members of the CTU began a strike authorization vote Wednesday. It will last until Friday. And DuPage County authorities are investigating the death of a Willowbrook High School student. Abdul Jalal suffered a medical emergency in the school's cafeteria Monday. Teen was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead later in the day. Philadelphia over the White Sox, Cubs over Cincinnati, and the news a service of Burger King breakfast. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
You know what? I want to tell you something, America.
The Joe Walsh Show.
We ask our cops to do an ugly, impossible job. And way too many of us hate on them every day. I'll tell you what, America, you are going to wake up, so help me God, America, you are going to wake up one day without police officers in this country. And you will deserve it.
The Joe Walsh Show. Weeknights starting at 5. Right after Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Half-price Wing Tuesdays now at B-Dubs. Any size order of traditional wings costs half as much, making Tuesdays twice as good. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Valid at participating locations for a limited time.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to focus in and talk about the big ideas behind the important issues. Enter Upstream Ideas online at upstream-ideas.com. Upstream Ideas, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted beliefs. Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now at upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to help encourage you to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit freer, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
7:36. Let's get an update on the roads in our AM 560 traffic center with Jim.
Thanks, Mike. The Edens is 35 minutes. Lake Cook to the Junction, outbound 30. The Kennedy, an hour and 12 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 52 minutes. The Ike, an hour and 20 minutes. Thorndale to the post office, outbound 55 minutes. Stevenson, an hour 15. 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 43 minutes. Ryan, 32 minutes. 95th to downtown. Tri-State, jam northbound 115th to the Hinsdale Oasis and Roosevelt to Grand Avenue. Reagan to Whistler, Randall to Yackley. There was an earlier crash. Veterans Memorial, really slow. I-55 most of the way to Roosevelt. Army Trail to 290. Traffic service of Amtrak. Great memories are made on trains, not in traffic. Experience travel the way it should be. Go from Chicago to Washington, D.C. for $78 with Amtrak Saver Fares. Look now at amtrak.com/saverfares. See where the train can take you. Restrictions apply. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer is next. This update is service of Burger King Breakfast. What's the best place to have your breakfast? How about on a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 Croissandwich breakfast sandwiches for $4. A light flaky croissant with savory sausage or thick-cut smoked bacon. 2 Croissandwich, $4 at Burger King. Price and participation vary. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast, warm, humid, sunshine today. We'll top out at 83. Warm and humid with a shower in spots overnight. Low 67. 65 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Business Insanity Radio Show with Barry Moltz. Sunday nights at 11. It's all about getting your business unstuck and moving forward.
Don't miss Freedom Summit Chicago 2016, October 29th in Itasca. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Dan and Amy, so did both presidential candidates, both Hillary and Trump, rush to judgment in the wake of the shootings in Tulsa and Charlotte? Take your calls, 312-642-5600, your text to 64636DA. Here's Hillary in Orlando.
I'm sending condolences and prayers to their families. I know a lot of you are as well. There is still much we don't know about what happened in both incidents, but we do know that we have 2 more names to add to a list of African Americans killed by police officers in these encounters. It's unbearable, and it needs to become intolerable.
And Trump in Cleveland?
Yeah, he was in Cleveland and said that Terrence Crutcher did everything right and that the female police officer, well, she just choked.
Now, did she get scared? Was she choking? What happened? But maybe people like that, people that choke, people that do that, maybe they can't be doing what they're doing, okay?
So basically he was saying she was unfit to be a police officer.
Or she, quote unquote, choked in the moment. Well, let's start with Charlotte, since Hillary didn't make a distinction between the two, and the facts suggest there is a distinction to be made, the facts that we know at this point. And for a review, we turn to Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Chief Kerr Putney.
Our detectives, through their investigation, recovered the firearm that the subject was holding in his hand when he got out of the vehicle. But at this point, I don't know that he definitively pointed the weapon specifically towards an officer. A weapon was seized, a handgun. I can also tell you we did not find a book that has been made reference to.
And witnesses maintain that Scott was sitting in his car reading a book, waiting for his son to get off the school bus near this apartment complex where police were doing, serving a warrant on somebody else, and that he charged the police officer with a weapon. But there's one witness, I just have to bring this to you. Her name is Tashia Williams. She seems like a solid person. She was there, and she claims
talk about a rush to judgment.
She saw that
Do you know her?
No, but I saw her being
okay.
interviewed, and she wasn't being shifty. She seemed, that she was there, and she said she saw a book, not a gun.
Did you see any gun on him?
I did not. No gun. It was a book. And he walked to the back of his truck. Just like this, he asked the police, what is going on? What's the problem? And then the next thing you know, I couldn't hear what they said, but then he got shot 4 times.
Mm-hmm. So here's what I'm understood to believe, if we're going to believe this eyewitness, that a black police officer in Charlotte walked up to a guy in his car reading a book, waiting for his son, and executed him with 4 shots. Is that what happened? Is that plausible to you? It's not plausible to me. We'll find out more as the investigation proceeds. By the way, it's worth noting, because we have to note these things in these conversations, apparently these days. The police chief in Charlotte Mecklenburg is Mr. Kerr Putney, is African-American. And so that's what we know to be true at this point. And now there is the issue of available dash cam video, and if and when that will be released to substantiate, if that's what the video does, what the police chief is saying.
Right. And the governor, Pat McCrory, who also used to be mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina, is pretty leery about having that video released.
One viewpoint of a video doesn't often always tell the whole story. The angles can make a difference, and the not hearing often in the video, so that the complexity, the video is one piece of evidence, and we have to be very careful with all the new media that is available. And in one respect, it can be used to a very great positive thing for our public. In another way, the video can also be abused.
It's difficult because it's difficult to get to like reasonable conversations here in these matters, because people go kind of to their safe places, their postures, their viewpoints, and they sort of tend to ignore the facts. Let me give you an example. The brother of Keith Lamont Scott, who is the man shot and killed by a black police officer in Charlotte, had this to say to local reporters.
Guys, is there anything we should know? No.
You just know that all white people are devils.
And make sure you air that one.
Air that.
Don't take that
all
one.
White cops are devils and white people.
All white cops and all white people are devils. The police chief is black. The officer involved in his brother's shooting death is black. I'm a bit perplexed, but okay.
Well, there was another night of violence. 4 police officers injured. 1 civilian shot another civilian. That person's on life support. They smashed windows at Bank of America. The Charlotte Hornets store was raided. They went into the Omni Hotel, and they actually went into the Hyatt Hotel, smashed their way in there, and started punching employees.
Yeah. There's no more powerful expression of social commentary than to loot the Charlotte Hornets team store.
Well, I mean,
it's a clear message. It's an important statement on I want Charlotte Hornets stuff. That's what it is.
They just want to take free stuff. But one law enforcement, a veteran, 27 years on the force, his name is Matt Forrest, African American. He's trying to tell people to stop it, control yourself.
No one has ever shown me or anyone else that burning buildings, looting businesses, or punching people in the face is going to get you what you need to do. there is a protest protocol, and Charlotte knows what that is, and people know what that is. And we have to be sure to differentiate between protesters and criminal. What I see on some of these video clips are criminal.
Yeah,
no one has ever shown me.
That's right, and that's the reasonable voice that gets drowned out by politicians and Black Lives Matter and kind of media amplifying the agitators.
Yeah, but what the protesters want is to see the video. They want the video released because then they can decide for themselves if it was a book or if it was a gun. And if they have the video, why not release it? 312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. Text us at 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment. Because don't you think that would end it? I mean, the National Guard called in last night. They're expecting more riots tonight.
I don't think it would end it. No, I don't think it would end it because people, as you just said, are looting because they want stuff. They're not protesting. They're using this as an opportunity. Now, are some people peacefully protesting? Yes. But is it going to end the destruction and the civilian on civilian crime that you just described? No, because they're criminals. That's why. They're not social commentators. They're not policy wonks. They're not trying to address the balance in a free society between police and individuals. They're thugs.
Yeah,
That's
they
why.
are thugs. And what makes this different is they try to throw in a local photographer, into a fire pit last night. Another reporter had to go to the hospital, and Ed Lavandera from CNN got tackled.
And so in Oklahoma, now, turning to what Trump said about Mr. Crutcher doing everything right, well, that's not true. Because what we know to be true at this case, or is what's reported to be true, and doesn't seem to be in dispute, even by the family, the Crutcher family, is that he disobeyed police commands to stop walking away, to stand down, to not go to his vehicle, to not appear to reach into his vehicle. Now, the issue of the use of deadly force is an open question. I think it's a much hazier case in Tulsa than it is in Charlotte based on what we know. But you have to answer the question if you think that Officer Betty Shelby executed Mr. Crutcher. What did he do such that two police officers simultaneously use force, one with a taser, one with a firearm? And I don't know that Donald Trump addressed that question.
No, but he was in front of an African-American crowd and was trying to court the African-American vote. So
yeah, so that doesn't justify it.
No, it doesn't.
That's not compelling
to me. It even
me.
made it worse. And then the question with the officer, Betty Shelby, would she have shot him if he was white or black? I don't think it mattered. She shot him because he threatened her.
Doug in Waukegan, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. You made a comment earlier about the officer involved in Charlotte being black and the police chief being black. Unfortunately, to the folks that are inspired by these protests and are leading these protests, well, as soon as you put a badge on, you lose any kind of racial identity when it suits them.
Yeah, right. That's right.
I've seen it. I work with black officers, and they've had people call them turncoats, traitors, all sorts of other names that are not suitable for the year. And you put that badge on, you lose that identity when it's convenient for them.
Thanks, Doug. And one thing we should add to remember to have these discussions be proportional. We're talking about a small segment of the populace that are the looters and that are the people that Doug was describing as not respecting African-American police officers because they're wearing the blue or they're wearing the badge. By the same token, you have the overwhelming majority of black families that are law-abiding, that live in neighborhoods where they want their neighborhoods and their family to be protected just like anybody else, that want police presence, particularly in some of the high-crime neighborhoods, for example, in the west and south sides of Chicago. So let's also keep our sense of proportion about this. We're talking about a small group of agitators who are made to appear bigger than they actually are through the amplification of the complicit D.C. press corps. Jim in Oak Lawn. Hey, Jim.
Hello. Love you show. I understand that there's a North Carolina statute recently enacted and controversial that prohibits the release of police shooting video in advance of the conclusion of investigation.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about that with Heather McDonald.
Heather
I don't
McDonald
think
said it takes effect next week.
Right. It's not. It has not taken effect.
Okay.
Yeah. But thanks.
The nonviolent solution to clearing the streets in these situations where there's violence is the fire department water cannon.
I think they tried everything yesterday. They used tear gas.
Water artillery.
Yeah.
Well, And
Thanks for the call, Jim.
And they should implement a curfew tonight. That would be smart.
We heard from some reasonable voices in law enforcement. How about a reasonable voice from the NFL?
Oh, yeah. Cam Newton, the starring quarterback, said, you know what, people in Charlotte, wake up and start policing yourselves.
When you look at the most dangerous cities in America, Atlanta, Birmingham, Chicago, Miami, Louisiana, I know from being a black person, it's a lot of black people that don't do right by black people. So you can't be a hypocrite and just say, oh, well, a white man or a white police officer killed a black man. Now, that's still messed up. I'm not sitting up here saying that it's okay. I'm just saying we just still got to be, have a clear-eyed vision on both sides. And it starts with everybody holding each other accountable and policing yourselves.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah.
Kathy in Union Pier, Michigan.
Hi. I read on Drudge last night that they looted the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
True.
And I was wondering if you guys... Oh, that is true?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm thinking that all the good old boys that love NASCAR are just going to take matters into their own hands.
Yeah.
And this could all rectify itself with the good old boys.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Jeff Gordon is firing up the Tide car, so that's coming for those looters. You can be rest assured of that. Mike in Park Ridge.
Hi, Dan. You mentioned this is a small segment of the white population that's looting and being violent and smashing windows, causing property damage. However, I'm not a Trump supporter, but these people are going to have an outsized effect on the election and impact the presidential election in Trump's favor.
No, I agree with that. Thanks for the call, Mike. No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, as I said, they're amplified, so the reaction will be amplified too. Totally agree with that. Alan in Lake Geneva.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
One thing that with all these stories that have been transpiring are the ones that we're more aware of now because of Facebook and social media and 24-hour news. This is a lot of situations where people are just disobeying and not listening to the lawful police orders. And I don't care if a police officer stops me, if he asks me to take my shoes off and do cartwheels and sing the alphabet. Whatever they ask you to do, as long as it's not against law, I say you do it. If it's truly unrealistic or you've got some kind of beef with a police officer, it's much easier to file a complaint alive than it is from a morgue.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Alan. And I'll tell you what, that example he gives calls to mind Cop Rock. And that was also a crime against the country, Cop Rock.
Cop Rock?
The dancing police, remember that?
Oh.
So if a police officer, I'm just putting it out there, if a police officer tells me to take off my shoes, do cartwheels, and dance, and we do some kind of Cop Rock number, I'm not abiding that because I think it's a disgrace to the uniform.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
We're the 32-year-old company whose first employee and first client are still working together. Hi, Tom Sadeka, CEO of Precision Payroll of America. If you are like me and are listening to this station, chances are we hold some common values and truths we hold self-evident. That's the main reason Precision Payroll attracts great clients and great employees. Precision Payroll of America operates at the core with fundamental principles that drive our attitude and delivery of service. We work hard to provide the best in pricing and value. In addition, with our great team that has been with us a long time, you are ensured a lasting relationship with people who understand your needs and always stand ready to serve. What sets us apart is that we view what we do as a great opportunity to serve others in a professional and technical capacity while building long-lasting relationships. That's what we treasure. If this message hits home, please call me at 630-242-1507. That's 630-242-1507 or on the web at precisionpayroll.com.
What's your caliber? You've heard about Black Rhino holsters for concealed carry, range practice, or competitive shooting. When you see how comfortable and safe they are, you'll want one for all of your firearms. They're handcrafted in Illinois by veterans using 100% virgin Kydex and American-made fasteners. From precision fit and finish to secure retention and quick draw, a Black Rhino is the finest affordable holster with a lifetime material warranty and workmanship guarantee. Black Rhino has tactical carrier and concealed carry systems for every caliber. You and your firearm deserve a Black Rhino. The Second Amendment protects our right to bear arms, and Black Rhino protects those arms. Black Rhino Concealment, we hold your caliber against you. Visit blackrhinoconcealment.com or call 847-783-6499 for showroom info. Use the promo code AM560 for a 10% discount on your first order. That number, 847-783-6499, or visit blackrhinoconcealment.com.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I want you to know that Steve Reich will be the best representative for McHenry County. Steve knows you have to walk on both sides of the road, and he sees rising property taxes driving out homeowners who thought they'd get help. Well, Steve Reich will fight for tax relief that will also grow the local economy. And I know Steve Reich will have a strong voice for the farmers. Steve will work for you and everybody in McHenry County. Elect Steve Reich for state representative in the 63rd District.
Paid for by citizens to elect Stephen Reich.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing, independently owned business bank. Signature Bank listens to your story, learns about your business, and sticks with their customers. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Mick O'Rourke, co-founder, president, and CEO of Signature Bank. We founded Signature Bank in 2006 with one goal: to serve as Chicago's business bank. Now, 10 years later, we've seen that vision turn into a reality. We'd like to help your business realize all of its potential. My co-founders and I have many years of experience in commercial banking. When we learn about your business, we sit down across the table from you. When you have concerns, we pick up the phone to talk them through. We know your name and your story. At Signature Bank, when we make a commitment, we deliver.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. Learn more about turning your business vision into reality. Visit signature-bank.com. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
And now, a moment of objectivism with Yaron Brook and the Ayn Rand Institute.
Everyone from Hillary Clinton and Ted Cruz to Rob Lau and Angelina Jolie say they've been inspired by Ayn Rand's most famous novel, Atlas Shrugged. What's the appeal? Atlas Shrugged grapples with the fundamental questions of human existence, presenting radically new answers. Is the pursuit of profit and noble enterprise or the root of all evil? Is sexual passion an exalted spiritual virtue or a dirty animalistic vice? Is reason an absolute or is faith an alternative source of truth? These are just a few of the timeless questions Ayn Rand explores in Atlas Shrugged, and her thought-provoking answers and intriguing characters will have you turning the pages for more. Pick up a copy of Atlas Shrugged today and visit ARIradio.com to learn more about the ideas in Ayn Rand's masterwork. From the Ayn Rand Institute, I'm Yaron Brook.
This has been a moment of objectivism from the Ayn Rand Institute. To learn more, listen to the Yaron Brook Show, Saturdays at 4 on AM 560, and visit ARIradio.com.
Why are Ayn Rand's ideas so compelling? Her worldview, her philosophy, expressed dramatically in her novels Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, embodies the ideals stated by the Founding Fathers in the Declaration of Independence and sets forth the requirements necessary to achieve a flourishing life. She called her philosophy objectivism and said it was a philosophy for living on Earth. Today, decades after her death, objectivism continues to stir debate and inspire passion for the spirit of individualism and the enduring American dream.
Hey, you've heard how Automated Systems excels at assisting companies with systems integration and FDA compliance, but they're also a staffing leader. They supply handpicked elite leadership, subject matter experts, and proven technical professionals in engineering, quality control, and FDA compliance to support the life sciences field in executing mission-critical projects. ASI provides highly specialized pros to deliver projects on time and budget. Don't pay a lot more to a big consulting firm, and don't trust the big temp agencies to supply the talent you need. Call Laz, my friend Laz at Automated Systems, when failure isn't an option. ASI is retained by all of Chicagoland's Fortune 500 life sciences companies, from big pharma to startups, and excel through a culture of excellence in execution. For a staffing, compliance, or automation evaluation, call Laz now at Automated Systems at 844-HIRE-ASI or visit AutomatedSYS.com. That's 844-HIRE-ASI or AutomatedSYS.com.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Should Iowa Congressman Steve King take out his frustration from the loss to North Dakota State on IRS Commissioner Koskinen? I say yes. What does he say at 8:08?
And later he fights back. The mayor of Pittsburgh joins us to respond to what Alderman Ed Burke had to say. But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
The latest from Charlotte coming up from Fox as they consider a curfew this morning after protests overnight. Chicago to hire nearly 1,000 new police officers, part of Mayor Rahm Emanuel's comprehensive plan for addressing public safety. A student dies following a medical emergency at Willowbrook High School. New judge takes over the case against Melody Glinowitz. Cubs beat the Reds, and they complete a big sweep there, while the Phillies pound the White Sox. Very warm and humid day ahead. Your forecast comes up after Fox News and WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
Fox News. I'm Dave Anthony. Many people are not going to work today in Charlotte, North Carolina. After a second night of violent protests, Bank of America and other companies telling them to stay home. Mayor Jennifer Roberts says
there were some businesses that had windows smashed, but I think our officers worked very hard to protect our citizens and protect our property.
A convenience store was damaged and looted. One demonstrator was shot by another civilian, and he's on life support. 6 others were injured, 4 of them cops. The National Guard has been sent in amid the anger over Tuesday's police shooting.
This is sad. This should not happen.
Police say the black man killed, Keith Lamont Scott, was holding a gun and didn't drop it. His family claims he was carrying a book. The mayor also tells Fox.
We also are following the wishes of the Scott family who want to see that video footage first, and they'll be seeing it today, I understand.
Adding to the protesters' anger, last week's deadly shooting of an unarmed black man in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the officer says Terrence Crutcher did not respond to commands and she feared for her life. So what are Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton saying about all this? Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, campaigning in Florida, Clinton called the shootings in Oklahoma and North Carolina unbearable.
We have 2 more names to add to a list of African Americans killed by police officers.
Trump told Fox News it appears the relationship between the police and the communities they serve is getting worse.
There's no unity. You look at the level of hatred, the rocks being thrown and everything happening. It's so sad to see.
Trump says he would like to use the controversial police tactic stop and frisk to help quell black-on-black violence in inner cities. Dave.
Rachel, Syria's president is blaming the U.S. for the fallen apart ceasefire.
The United States is not genuine regarding having cessation of violence in Syria.
Now, Bashar Assad also says airstrikes on Syrian troops were intentional. The U.S. blames Russia for the broken truce and the deadly airstrike that hit a humanitarian aid convoy. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
69 degrees. We have 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. Mayor Emanuel's set to lay out his plan to fight crime in Chicago. He'll be giving a major speech tonight at Malcolm X College on the city's near west side. His address will focus on policing, punishment, prevention, and parenting, and will also push a plan to overhaul Chicago's system for investigating police shootings and officer complaints. Teachers in the nation's third largest district are casting ballots on whether they will back a strike. Members of the Chicago Teachers Union began voting for a strike authorization yesterday. The voting will last through Friday. DuPage County authorities investigating the death of a Willowbrook High School student. Abdul Jalal suffered a medical emergency in the school's cafeteria Monday. A 22-year-old college student from Elgin died last weekend in an ATV crash in Calhoun County. Brittany Godfrey was a senior at SIU Edwardsville and died from injuries sustained in that accident. Wheaton College employee banned from campus and on unpaid leave after he was charged with having child pornography on his personal computer. Benjamin Felker is being held on $250,000 bail. Chicago sports. Philadelphia beat the White Sox 8-3. Cubs over Cincinnati 9-2. The news service of Accountemps. The time is here now to reality check your salary expectations. Visit accountemps.com/salary center to see up-to-date 2017 salary forecast for more than 400 accounting and finance roles. Accountemps, a Robert Half company. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat. From the Fox Business Network, a service of Turnkey.pro, here's Hillary Barsky.
From the Fox Business Network, stocks were solidly higher yesterday after the Federal Reserve held off raising interest rates. Global stocks are up today, as well as some Asian markets, as the result of the Fed's decision. Investors will learn how many people filed for unemployment benefits last week when the Labor Department issues its report on weekly jobless claims. Also today, the National Association of Realtors will be releasing its report on existing home sales for August, and Freddie Mac will release the weekly mortgage rates. And just where are the most educated cities and towns in America? According to a new study from NerdWallet, Bethesda, Maryland, Brookline, Massachusetts, Princeton, New Jersey, Potomac, Maryland, Palo Alto, California, and several more towns in Massachusetts making the list. In fact, more than half of all residents in Princeton, New Jersey have at least a master's degree. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Hillary Barsky.
8:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
When I discovered that the problem with my money was the guy in my mirror, it changed my life.
The Dave Ramsey Show.
If I can control that guy, he can be skinny and rich, but he's got issues. He likes cookies, and I buy stuff on impulse. Do I want to be fat and broke? You can make different choices. You get to decide. So much of this is about behavior. You're not a victim. You get to decide how to win.
Dave Ramsey, weeknights starting at 7. Presented by Wintrust Community Bank on AM 560. The Answer.
The worst part of my job? It's such a hassle, the sorting through resumes. Most people don't have the right experience.
We started using ZipRecruiter about 3 months ago. Right from the start, you could tell it was going to make hiring a lot easier. One click and my job was posted to 100-plus job boards, all the top sites.
All of the candidates came to my dashboard, and it's easy to compare them. Thumbs up if I liked them, thumbs down if I didn't. No emails and attachments, printing up docs, phone calls, none of that.
And I couldn't believe the number of great applicants we got. I had the person we needed within 1 week. I don't know how we hired before ZipRecruiter.
Whether you're looking to fill one position or 20, find the best candidates with ZipRecruiter, where your job is just one click away from 100-plus job sites. ZipRecruiter, the fastest way to hire. And right now you can try ZipRecruiter free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/work. That's ZipRecruiter.com/work. ZipRecruiter.com/work.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-467-5125. That's 1-800-467-5125. 1-800-467-5125. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop. You save. Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price can vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors not available in all states.
8:07 in our AM 560 traffic center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. In North Chicago, southbound 41 is closed right now from 137 to Beacon due to a crash. Eden's inbound 24 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose, but outbound 40. Kennedy's an hour and 5 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, 31 minutes from Montrose, 27 on the Express. Outbound 30 minutes to Montrose, 55 to the airport. The Eisenhower, an hour and 20 minutes, Thorndale to the post office. An hour and 5 minutes from Manheim. Outbound an hour and 5 minutes to Thorndale. Stevenson, an hour and 13 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, 55 minutes from the Tri-State. Outbound 43 minutes to 355. Ryan is 32 minutes, 95th to downtown. Tri-State southbound, bumper to bumper, Washington to 137. Northbound from 115th to 31st and Roosevelt to the Grand Avenue curve. Northbound Veterans Memorial has heavy delays from I-55 most of the way to Roosevelt and Army Trail to 290. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. Here's meteorologist Kevin Snyder.
It'll be warm and humid. Some sun this afternoon with a high 83. Cloudy tonight, warm and humid. Shower in spots, low 67. Tomorrow, intervals of clouds and sun. A shower in spots, humid, and remaining warm, high 79. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
65 at O'Hare, 69 along the lakefront. Next news, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs powered by Tandem HR. Heard Sunday evenings at 6.
Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
We got shots fired. One suspect down Legacy Court.
Did you see any gun on him?
I did not. No gun. It was a book.
A weapon was seized, a handgun. I can also tell you we did not find a book. that has been made reference to.
Guys, is there anything we should know?
Just know that all white people are devils.
Well, what about in Syria, though? She supported the drawing of the red line.
I think you'd have to ask
Was she
President
disappointed
Obama,
that the president didn't act when the line was crossed?
I think you'd have to ask her about that question, how she would characterize
well, you're here
her
to speak
feelings.
for her, Robbie, so you haven't discussed that at all?
We love you, buddy, but what are you here for?
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. This is just comical. We're just remarking during the break. Former Mayor SRB, the former Baltimore Mayor, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, she's a CNN contributor and their riot expert.
No, she is. Every time that there's any riots, she comes on and talks about, her experience and how it's similar or dissimilar to Baltimore and what people should really be doing. And because remember, she was the creator of a safe space. We need to give them spaces to protest.
No,
remember that 2-block area that she handed over?
I think it was a safe space to loot.
Oh, well, no.
Yeah, because that's actually what happened in Baltimore.
Yeah,
she created a safe
well.
space for criminals. No. Yeah, well, sign of the times, I suppose. Another matter that transpired yesterday, amid all of the other controversies, domestic, international, is the testimony of IRS Commissioner William Koskinen, who's long past his sell-by date, or impeach-by date, in my opinion. And he was sort of apologetic, but as Kevin Williamson writes in National Review Online, Koskinen is fluent in the Mustelid dialect of Washington. Nicely done. Koskinen saying, "We did not succeed in preserving all of the information requested, and some of my testimony later proved mistaken." Williamson writes in response to that statement by Koskinen, "There's a term for that. It's called obstruction of justice." And so the question is Steve King, congressman from Iowa, and his colleagues, are they going to not just impeach Commissioner Koskinen, but refer him for criminal charges? We put that question now to our friend, Iowa Congressman Steve King. Thanks for joining us, Congressman. We appreciate it.
Well, good morning. Thanks a lot for having me on, Dan and Amy.
So what about that? Take out that Iowa loss to North Dakota State on Koskinen.
Well, let me say, with regard to Koskinen, is that, I've looked through that data. I've had an extensive timeline on what happened along the way. I talked with Commissioner Koskinen on the phone in late June for about 35 minutes. And then about a week ago, or a little more, I sat down with him in my office here in Washington for a little more than an hour. And then we had our testimony yesterday and the opportunity for the panelists, myself included, to question him. So I've looked through this continuum of this timeline, and I look at it from segment by segment. And his answer and analysis of what happened, when you try to string that all together, you can take any component out of there and say it stretches the truth real thin. But you didn't say perjury, you said obstruction of justice. And I think that's probably for a reason, because I don't think that we could get a conviction on perjury, because it's just each segment is slightly believable. But when you connect them all together, the whole thing is not believable.
Well, what is the most egregious act that he committed?
Well, I think when he knew that he didn't have the tapes that he promised us, it was several months before he let Congress know that her hard drive had crashed and that they believe the tapes were unattainable. That's the biggest one, Amy.
Yeah, but what about the underlying criminal act? This is my characterization, and I think I said Bill Koskinen, John Koskinen, of course. But the underlying criminal act, the illegal harassment and intimidation of people based on their political and religious beliefs, which necessarily involve the criminal misuse of federal resources.
Well, I do agree with that, and we aren't deep enough into that information in Congress at this point to be able to point our fingers to the exact individuals, and they have been just so slow to come with information. I asked Commissioner Koskinen yesterday, what about the people below Lois Lerner? What about the people below you? How many heads roll? And he said most of the people that were involved in that are now gone from the IRS. I want to follow up on that and find out who they are. But these are the kind of things the FBI should be investigating, the Department of Justice should be doing. But we have the limited investigative powers. You see how hard it is to drag Koskinen before the Judiciary Committee, and each of us get 5 minutes to ask our questions, and then he gets to pack up and leave. So that's the problem. I think that the obstruction of justice that you brought out in the beginning of this, I think it's got a case, and that is not necessarily the refusal to produce information, but the intransigence and the fact that he didn't produce it. And I think that's worth looking into. And so if I had to put the vote up today with what I know today, I would vote to impeach John Koskinen, not because I'm convinced that he technically lied to Congress, but I think he slowed these things down. And furthermore, he took this responsibility. When I asked him for the names of the people that scrubbed those 422 tapes that contained Lois Lerner's emails, he said he knew those names, but he would not testify to personnel issues. And so these two guys did a night shift in Martinsburg, West Virginia. They took it apparently upon themselves to, after 6 months of these tapes sitting there, decided to scrub those that night. 422 tapes scrubbed in 1 8-hour shift by two guys.
That's
That's improbable to me after they'd spent the previous 6 months preserving every record that came in that warehouse.
Yeah, I'd say.
So where do you go from here? Because yesterday's IRS impeachment hearings seem to be hijacked by the Democrats with Skittles, our Congressman Luis Gutierrez eating Skittles, and then Trump taxes were involved in that as well.
I just don't know whether that's made up or real. Publish it if it's real, then, Luis. But there was, you could see, you didn't have to know which party people were when you heard them talk in the panel. Democrats are trying to protect Koskinen, and Republicans are trying to bring out the truth, Amy. And if I'm on the other side of that, I'm going to want to bring out the truth, too. I don't know how they expect us to have, as American people, confidence in a government when it's so partisan that you're defending a man like John Koskinen rather than trying to get at the truth.
So the process from here to perhaps call the question, you said if you had to vote today, you'd vote to impeach.
I would.
When is that vote going to happen?
Well, there's a privilege motion that's out there that's ripe now, and the sponsors of that motion can call it up at any time. I don't think they will between now and the election because of this hearing was designed to take the temperature down a little bit. I don't think our leadership wanted to see that kind of vote on the floor, and I don't know what the whip count is. If you move that motion to impeach Koskinen and it fails on the floor of the House, then advantage goes to the IRS and the people that defend them.
Well, and
I think there's a decent risk to be there.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess this if you based on what we're talking about here and the conclusion you've drawn from introspection on the issue as well as the conversations directly with the IRS commissioner, I mean, if Republicans in the majority can see their way fit to take seriously enough the illegal targeting of people based on their religious and political beliefs to remove the IRS commissioner, then, don't you see why people have such little faith in Republican leadership at present?
Yes, I do. And I think it's going to get ever more acute as the months unfold. And I'm just imagining if we, heaven forbid, had a Hillary Clinton as president, and as she begins to push this leftist agenda that she's promising America, and Congress is elected to also carry on the things that we keep our promises, we're going to have to slow down or stop a Clinton presidency juggernaut by using the power of the purse. And we've demonstrated in this Congress that as a body we haven't had the will to shut off the funding, even to Planned Parenthood, for example.
Yeah.
And when you saw the fight in October of 2013, when we did have a government shutdown, it broke the will of a lot of Republicans that don't want to have that fight again. They think they lose, and I don't. I think you stand on principle and you don't waver.
Well, yeah. I mean, we know where you're coming from, but there's, the gelatinous orbs at the leadership level in the Republican Party. Good boy. Let me ask you another question while we got you. Representative Steve King from Iowa's 4th Congressional District.
Talk about Hawkeyes.
No, I know. It's still raw.
It's too soon, Dan.
So this story that came out, we talked to Senator Ron Johnson earlier in the show, and he thinks it's a substantial issue. I suspect you will as well. But this report that's produced by Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton that suggests up to 15% of non-citizens in the U.S. are voting.
This following a study that was commissioned by Old Dominion University back in 2014 that found 6.5% of non-citizens voted in the 2008 election and 2.2% voted in the 2010 midterm elections. I mean, those are small percentages, but turn out to be big, gross numbers, and I would suggest a big problem, no?
Well, it is a big problem, and it's something that when I came to this Congress, I began to push on this quarterback then before it was an issue. And that's another thing they just haven't demonstrated the will to push through on. Maybe because they don't see the problem. For me, I don't want any American citizen's vote to be canceled out by a non-citizen or an illegal alien. And the roots of this go back to the weakening of our election laws, motor voter law for one thing. And so people would walk in and want a driver's license or a DOT identification, and they're required by law to say, "Do you want to register to vote?" And so maybe they don't speak English, and they check the box that says they're a citizen, and now they're registered to vote, and maybe they don't even know they can't vote if they're not a citizen. So I think Tom Fitton's right on this, and we need to clean this up. We absolutely can't get this done with Barack Obama sitting in the White House, and we will not get it done with Hillary Clinton sitting in the White House. They have been eroding this. They'd like to see non-citizens and illegal aliens vote. You've seen that in cities and political subdivisions, different places across the country in the liberal area. And I think the citizenship is precious, and it's a responsibility we have, and we should clean this thing up. If there's anything that threatens our republic, the bedrock that our Constitution sets on, it's the piece below the foundation, Constitution being the foundation. The bedrock is having legitimate, free, and fair elections of citizens determining the direction of this country. And if we lose faith or confidence that those elections are free and fair and citizens, then the trust in the republic breaks down and the Constitution itself falls. It is a big deal, and it's where we're the most vulnerable right now.
He is Representative Steve King, Republican from Iowa's 4th Congressional District. Representative King, thanks as always for joining us. Always a pleasure. And then good luck with the Hawkeyes as they begin Big Ten play.
Well, we're going to need a little bit of that good luck. And the game of year, I know you're cheering them on as well. So
yep.
Thanks a lot. And I appreciate the chance to be on with you this morning.
Thank you. We play Rutgers in New Jersey.
You'll probably lose.
And thanks, Dan, for your positive energy. Go Hawks. And the good congressman joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
See Alan West, Michelle Malkin, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Mike Gallagher, Townhall.com political editor Guy Benson, Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Joe Walsh at Freedom Summit Chicago 2016. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
A very warm, humid day awaits us, a high of 83 degrees. Then tonight, a shower in place, a low of 67. And for Friday, we're going to start off with some clouds and sun, a shower in spots. And it will be humid and it will be warm, a high of 82. Any high travel times? Here's Jim Talamonte.
Yeah, it's pretty stuffy, Amy, on the inbound Eisenhower, especially with delays starting at St. Charles. An hour and 25 minutes, Thorndale to the post office. An hour and 10 minutes from Mannheim. Outbound, it's 52 minutes to Thorndale. Aiden's 24 minutes, Lake Cook to the junction, but outbound 40. Kennedy, an hour and 5 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 50 minutes. Stevenson is an hour and 8 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 40 minutes. Ryan, 32 minutes, 95th to downtown. Crash at 71st in the right lane. On Lakeshore Drive, southbound, it's really slow. Bryn Mawr to North Avenue, then 18th to the Stevenson. Northbound from 31st to Jackson. Tri-State southbound, stop and go. Washington to 137. Northbound, Southwest Highway to 75th. Stevenson to 47th. Roosevelt to the Grand Avenue curve. East on Reagan Tollway, traffic is slow from 31 to Eola, and then heavy as well from York to the Tri-State. Jim Talamonte in the AM 560 Traffic Center.
Gentlemen, when it comes to your health, you know your numbers. You may know your blood pressure and cholesterol, but do you know your testosterone number? I do. Low T Center made it easy. I went to the Low T Center, took a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, I was able to get my results in minutes. If you're a man over 40 and have noticed a decline in energy, stamina, or libido, you may have low testosterone. Low T levels make you feel tired and grumpy, can raise your cholesterol, and even cause weight gain. And in honor of Prostate Health Month, Low T Center is offering a $50 testosterone and prostate level test. So, guys, if you don't know your numbers, haven't met your deductible, or don't have insurance, you should take advantage of this offer. It's quick, easy, and you get your results in about 20 minutes. Do yourself a favor and call 630-409-4305. Tell them Dan Proft sent you. That number again, 630-409-4305. Or visit them online at lowtcenter.com.
Hi, I'm Lex, CEO of Balance of Nature. At Balance of Nature, we believe in real communication. Whether you call into the office or hear a success story on the radio, you can be sure it's real, unsolicited, and unscripted conversation.
I'm always telling people to buy your product.
They're wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I love the product.
Thank God for Balance of Nature.
You know what, I just feel as if out of everything out there, it just makes the most sense.
I really enjoy the product.
I find them just wonderful.
I love it. It's definitely a good product, no question about it.
I love the Balance of Nature.
It's really good. I really like it. Your product is phenomenal.
Good health is only a phone call away. What are you waiting for? Don't miss your opportunity to get a free month supply of Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-2468-751. That's 1-800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Have you ever seen what really goes on in your caterer's or favorite restaurant's kitchen? What does the kitchen look like? How big is the operation? And maybe most importantly, who's cooking my meal? When you cater with Tasty Catering, you get more than quality food and event planning. You get an invitation to see what goes on throughout our entire building, including our kitchen. We call it our open kitchen door policy. Come see for yourself why we are so proud of what we do, and gain the peace of mind that comes with knowing the who's, the what's, the where's, and the how's of the way we prepare your food. Visit tastycatering.com for more information, or contact a Tasty Catering sales representative and set up a time to come meet with us at our home. You can't put a price on peace of mind, but if you had to, all it takes is one visit. Call 847-593-2000, 847-593-2000, or start your visit through our open doors at tastycatering.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, so you know what Donald Trump kind of reminds me of, and what he must have been perceived as when he landed in Palm Beach? Al Czervik from Caddyshack, the Rodney Dangerfield character. Yeah. Hey, Wang, don't tell him you're Jewish. Here's the thing. This story is very interesting. Palm Beach only agreed to lift its restrictions on Mar-a-Lago and other clubs after Donald Trump forced the issue of quote-unquote desegregating Florida's wealthy sporting clubs. So for all the people that say Trump is this racist and so on and so forth. Yeah. He was an outsider. He was the nouveau riche down there. And he wanted some of the young moneyed guys like him, regardless of their racial or religious persuasion, to be able to, partake in his club and partake in the scene in Palm Beach. Listen to what he did. The culture clash began to approach a climax this fall. This is, back 20 years ago now, but this is the report. So think of the mid-'90s. The culture clash began to approach a climax last fall when Mr. Trump's lawyer sent members of the town council a copy of the film Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Oh, my gosh, really? That's creative.
Yeah. And then Trump approached the town council about lifting restrictions that had been placed on the club. He also asked some council members not to vote on the request because their membership in other clubs created a conflict of interest. The council refused to lift the restrictions. He filed a $100 million lawsuit suggesting in part that the town was discriminating against Mar-a-Lago because of its openness to Jewish patrons and African-American patrons. And though the club and the town, the competing clubs in the town denied the charges, they ultimately, and Trump retracted the claim, they ultimately lifted the restrictions. So, Abraham Foxman, who was the national director of the Anti-Defamation League at the time, said of Trump, he put the light on Palm Beach, not on the beauty and the glitter, but on its senior-sided discrimination. It has an impact. So, I mean, just, factor it into this kind of complicated guy. You can say this was his particular economic interest at stake, and so he did something he might not have ordinarily done if he didn't have a financial stake in the outcome. But the bottom line is he did it.
Why haven't we heard about this before, though? Because that's something that you should bring up sometime.
Yeah. Well,
and he's not shy to mention his own accomplishments, really, and how he's helped people. So why would he shy away from that?
I don't know.
He seemed to help a lot of people.
I don't know.
He's making change.
But it's a story that complicates the cartoonish caricature of him, even sometimes when I've advanced a cartoonish caricature of him, legitimately, of course.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
This is Bob.
Hi, I'm Bob.
His company put their trust in Air Comfort to keep their business running cool all summer. Bob knows the value of proper chiller maintenance that includes end-of-season service, so he'll be ready for next summer.
Being the first woman elected
Dave,
president,
on the other hand,
what that
thought
would
he
mean
could
for our
put off
country,
servicing his
what that
chiller
would
at the
mean
end of
for,
last season and had
not just
3
little girls,
complete
little boys,
shutdowns
too.
this summer. Needless to say,
That's pretty
his
special.
staff and customers were
Not
not
to take away
happy.
from the
Moral of the
historic
story,
significance of
preventative maintenance will
perhaps
save you
becoming the
time,
first
money,
female
and
president.
trouble. As
But
the
for
hot
a
weather
younger-
ends,
younger
you need
generation
maintenance
who
on
will
your
also
chiller
become
before the start of next
their
season. Air
first
Comfort
white
has one of the
president.
largest commercial
That's
and
pretty
industrial
neat, too.
service groups in the Chicago
As
area,
secretary,
with a
how many words
dedicated
per minute
factory-trained
do you
chiller department that
And
takes
how
a
does President
scientific
Obama like
approach
his
to
coffee?
analyzing your
Like
system
himself?
and determining any needed maintenance.
You know,
They
Jack,
know
those
how to
are
work on large
really
equipment, perform an
out-of-date
analysis of your chiller, and get you ready for
you
next
need to
season.
get out more.
Call 708-345-1900 or visit
First, you supported
aircomfort.com.
Obama's
Air Comfort,
Trans-Pacific Partnership
providing the
deal,
right climate
and
for
then you were
business since
against it.
1935.
I think the people deserve to
Townsville
know.
Financial is
Are you
synonymous
down
with
with
great rates,
TPP?
low closing costs, and phenomenal
I'm not
service
down
to
with
the thousands who
TPP.
have completed purchases and
No, you're supposed to
refinances
say,
with us since 2002.
yeah, you know
Hi,
me.
my name is Barry Sterner, owner of Townstone
Like the
Financial.
hip-hop
Let's
group.
hear
Don't tell me
about
what
the
to say.
Townstone experience
Fine,
from one of our
Liz.
customers.
My name is
Frank
Frank
Pellegrini.
Some years ago, I founded a company called Prairie Title, and we've been
When
doing
you
business
see
with
how
Townstone
well it
Financial
works
for
for
many years.
Donald Trump,
Borrowers
do
come
you ever
in
think
and
to
they
yourself,
have their,
oh, maybe I
loan
should be more
applications with other
racist?
companies,
When
and,
he's
if any
elected
of those
president
borrowers
and Kid
are
Rock
not
becomes
made aware
Secretary of
of the
State,
new
are you going to move
regulations,
to
they're not
Canada?
made aware of the new
Or one of the
disclosures.
Arctics?
With Townstone, it's a
I
smooth
would stay in the
process.
United States.
Borrowers are prepared.
And what would you try to-
They've gotten
Try to
their
prevent him
disclosures in
from
time. They know what they're doing,
destroying the
and they're
United
fully
States.
informed. That's
So
the
you're going to lead the
transparency
Civil
we've got
War?
out of it all.
Remember,
No,
nobody
I
values
wouldn't.
your
I
business
wouldn't
more
take
than
up
Townstone
arms.
Financial,
I
and I'm
think that
always
might be a little
available to answer your
extreme.
questions. Call me now, Barry Sterner at 312-896-2111. That's 312-896-2111. Or go to townstone.com. That's TOWNSTONE.com.
Townstone Financials, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Illinois, mortgage license C6629 and NMLS 136639, equal housing lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We have the mayor of Pittsburgh to respond to His Eminence, Alderman Ed Burke, about his policy on driverless cars. That's at 8:38.
And wouldn't you? Botox for balls. I can't even say it. Botox for balls.
You got a lot of stones to raise that issue.
Let's go into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
68 degrees. Charlotte, North Carolina, this morning considering a curfew following 2 nights of violent protests. Mayor Jennifer Roberts on ABC just moments ago saying city leaders are considering that idea today.
We certainly are going to talk about that today. We did sign a statement last night to declare a state of emergency, which gives us that authority.
Protesters are enraged over the police shooting death of 43-year-old Keith Scott. Major companies in downtown Charlotte urging employees to stay home today. Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton says the killings of African-American men in Charlotte and Tulsa by police should no longer be tolerated.
We also saw the targeting of police officers in Philadelphia last week. And last night in Charlotte, 12 officers were injured in demonstrations.
Clinton rallying in Orlando, Florida, addressing the recent shootings in Tulsa and Charlotte. Investigators this morning say they want to talk to 2 men. Now, they're seen on surveillance video walking away with a suitcase allegedly left behind on the street by bombing suspect Ahmad Rahami. Rahami seen leaving that suitcase behind in Chelsea. Then minutes later, 2 men open that suitcase, remove a wire pressure cooker, and then walk off with the suitcase. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel will deliver his new, more comprehensive plan for addressing public safety. The agenda today expected to be delivered inside an evening speech at Malcolm X College. Students at a Brighton Park Elementary School are sitting in their classrooms this morning, back from an evacuation prompted by a hole found in the roof. Police were called to the Columbia Explorers Academy to examine roof damage caused by an explosive device. Within 2 hours, police determined the damage had been done by fireworks and then gave the all clear. A settlement in a wrongful death lawsuit filed by the family of a Villa Park woman who died in a Texas jail cell is official. Commissioners in Waller County, Texas, yesterday approving the nearly $2 million agreement with Sandra Bland's mother. Bland was found dead last summer in the Waller County Jail following a traffic stop. Authorities have ruled that death a suicide. Chicago sports. Philadelphia beat the White Sox. Cubs over Cincinnati, and the news is a service of Burger King breakfast. What's the best place to have your breakfast? How about on a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 Croissandwich breakfast sandwiches for just $4. A light, flaky croissant piled high with savory sausage or delicious, thick-cut smoked bacon. 2 Croissandwich, $4, only at Burger King. Price and participation vary. 8:34 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees a spiral in the Clinton campaign.
Let me allow you to fully embrace how bad things are right now for the Clinton campaign with tightening polls, how good things are going for Donald Trump. It has turned in a major way. Donald Trump, once again, all of us who've raised concerns about Hillary Clinton's health are being vindicated.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas, best beans, best roast, best coffee.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
My name is Dr. Howard. I've recommended Balance of Nature for over 15 years because of the excellent results I see in my patients. Balance of Nature doesn't make any claims of treating or curing any particular disease, but I think the results speak for themselves.
I was inducted into the Utah Tennis Hall of Fame. When you get to be a senior, almost 77, you lose a step here, you lose a little reflex, lose a little timing. But the thing I've noticed since I've been on Balance of Nature is that I'm just as perky as ever. I don't get tired. It's a wonderful feeling. I can play 4 and 5 hours of tennis a day, and up to that time, I've been on them a couple of months. I couldn't do that. That's the main thing that has helped me immensely.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751 or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Our time is 8:36. Let's get an update on the roads in our AM 560 traffic center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. Inbound Eden, slow Cicero to the junction. 25 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound 40. Kennedy with delays starting at Sayre. An hour and 5 minutes. O'Hare to downtown. 42 minutes from Montrose. 35 in the Express. Outbound 45 minutes to the airport. The Eisenhower's an hour and 20 minutes. Thorndale to the post office. An hour 5 from Manheim. Outbound 52 minutes to Thorndale. Stevenson an hour and 3 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 40 minutes. Ryan 35 minutes. 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-State. Slow Archer most of the way to 31st and Roosevelt to the Grand Avenue curve. Eastbound Adams still a bit heavy from Higgins to 53. Veterans Memorial slow I-55 to the Reagan Tollway and Army Trail to 290. Traffic answers when you need them most on Jim Talamonte on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Warm and humid today. Sunshine in the forecast for later in the day. High 83. Warm and humid overnight. Shower in spots. Low 67. Currently 68 at O'Hare. We have 71 along Chicago's lakefront. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Real Estate Revealed with Randy Barcella. Heard each and every Sunday at 8 a.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Don't miss Freedom Summit Chicago 2016, October 29th in Itasca. Tickets are on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So, Amy, last Friday it was, we had His Eminence, Alderman Ed Burke, joined us.
Do you think he knew what show he was going on when he agreed to come on a radio show?
I don't think he's used to being spoken to like we spoke to him, to be being challenged like we challenged him. I don't think he's used to, being in an environment where all
people
of us
disagree with him.
Well, and not all of his security guards could fit in the studio.
Right.
So I think that made him uncomfortable.
He wanted us replaced by robots too.
Well, he
used
did
to get a little zinger on the way out.
Since we challenged his preemptive strike against driverless car technology, he proposed an ordinance to ban driverless cars in Chicago, and he made the safety argument as well as the jobs argument, the 21st century defender of the horse and buggy against the advent of the combustion engine is essentially his argument. But he didn't take kindly to it, suggested maybe we should have talk show host-free radio shows.
Yeah.
I suggested he advance an ordinance that we also, to call or suggest, maybe we should have alderman-less cities.
Oh, yeah.
And here's what Ed Burke had to say. And remember, this is in response to Pittsburgh breaking the seal and advancing a driverless car policy to begin the beta testing effectively. So here's Ed Burke, why he proposed the ban, explaining his rationale.
Well, I think that right now there is a lack of understanding about these devices, and shouldn't we, first of all, ban them, and then if they prove to be safe and reasonable, then the use of these driverless vehicles can be authorized.
So he's confused by the technology, so everybody else must be. And the way to advance innovation is to ban something that is being developed.
Well, he wanted to ban it to make sure that his friends don't lose their jobs as Uber drivers.
Well, but that was a safety argument he made. He made the jobs argument. That's a safety argument. So ban an innovation until it's 100%. Are automobiles, are they 100%? I don't think so. But that's the Ed Burke central planning philosophy. Then he talked about the impact on jobs.
There are literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of jobs where people operate motor vehicles, delivery trucks, taxi cabs. What about those jobs that would disappear from our economy? Has anybody thought about what the ultimate result of that would be?
What about the candlestick makers? And then Burke went after Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Peduto, who apparently is an autocrat. So you talk about the technology, and one of the arguments you made is a safety argument. I mean, I suppose Pittsburgh and the leaders there are probably as concerned, I would suspect they're as concerned about the safety of their residents as you are the safety of Chicago residents. But
I don't know. If you read the stories, you would have learned that the mayor of Pittsburgh, without consultation with any other officials, not the city council, not the police department, not the fire department, single-handedly authorized this experiment.
Imagine a mayor of a big city doing something single-handedly. Never heard of such a thing. Here's the question about driver.
Number one, Pittsburgh isn't a big city.
Okay. All right, and so now we're happy to be joined by the autocratic mayor of that little hamlet called Pittsburgh, who doesn't care about his residents' safety. Mayor Bill Peduto joins us now. Mayor, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Darren and Amy.
So what about Chicago Alderman Ed Burke's comments that you just rammed through this driverless car policy in Pittsburgh? You're not concerned about residential safety, and Pittsburgh is just a speck on the map.
Yeah, well, I won't get into that personal stuff, but this is a debate we've been having for years here. Carnegie Mellon University, which is in the city, developed the first robotics program in the world. And back in 1994, think about the technology in 94, had a driverless car go from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. and back. And in 2007, they won a DARPA challenge, and the first driverless car drove from Los Angeles to New York. So the technology has been there. That's before the iPhone was released. What Uber is doing right now is regulated in a voluntary effort for us to help to advance a new industry. Innovation will never come after regulation. They walk hand in hand. That's when we tested for inoculation, when aviation began, all of those different times when great steps were taken. It was innovation that pushed us there. So what we've been doing is working. The vehicles themselves are on the streets. There are two people in them. There is one engineer behind the wheel and another engineer with a laptop who is monitoring every sensor in that vehicle. They don't travel past 35 miles an hour. I did meet with our police, and our police did meet with Uber before we ever gave the okay. I've met all the way with the president and the Secretary of Transportation and his team and the Secretary of Transportation in the state before we would ever launch this. But let me say this. The technology is not in the future. It's today. And these vehicles will be developed over the next couple of decades, and the technology will take the autonomous vehicles into a new realm of urban mobility.
Well, not if Ed Burke has to say about it. In Chicago, we're going to go back to the horse and buggy and candlesticks here.
I don't think you can. I don't know if the alderman realizes that regulations like that are not done on a local level. They're done at a federal and state level. That's why you don't drive from one neighborhood or one municipality to the other, and you can wear a seatbelt in one, or you have to wear a football helmet in another, or you have to have flashing yellow lights on your roof in another. That's you can't ban it.
Mayor, what's the end game though? Do they eventually want to have driverless trucks delivering produce and commerce?
I think that technology is a little bit slower. It's being tested by Volvo and some other companies in Gothenburg, Sweden. But what I was trying to say before is the technology is coming, and the question is, where do you want to see the industry based, where hundreds of thousands of jobs are created? Would you like to see it in the United States or Singapore or Sweden or somewhere else? I mean, it's a question of, are we going to be competitive in a brand new industry that's going to change urban mobility over the next few decades?
Well, and to your point, the point we tried to make to Ed Burke, but he wasn't having it, that there's divided opinion here. His opinion is not the representative of, say, the Illinois manufacturers president, Greg Bays, who said, yeah, we'd love to have the manufacturing located in Chicago, in Illinois, the manufacturing of this new technology and these new cars, because that's a job creator. So, yeah, would you lose some driver positions in various sectors? Sure, but it's a dynamic economy. But then you could gain high-paying, wealth-producing manufacturing jobs. It's not a static analysis.
So right now, Uber, well, let me put it this way. Conversation started 18 months ago. That's how quickly we're able to move on this. Uber had 0 employees. The only employees they had were the ones they created over the past 3 years, the drivers. Today, at their Global Innovation Center, they employ over 600 people brought in from around the country and around the world, including auto mechanics and others, all levels, PhDs to GEDs. By the end of next year, that number is probably going to be double. When's the last time you heard Pittsburgh bringing in a factory of 1,200 people that are able to combine our ability to make things with our ability to be innovative in our universities?
Well, and
why would I ban it? Simply because it's not 100% foolproof. 1.3 million people, 1.3 million, think of that number, were killed last year in automobile-related incidents, and 5 to 8 million more were injured worldwide. That's an epidemic, and we can do better, and technology will help us to do better, and I'm going to make sure that Pittsburgh is at the forefront of this new industry.
Well, that's exactly where I wanted to go, actually. I mean, this idea, it's what sometimes central planners, regulators like to do. They compare a proposal to utopia rather than a proposal to the reality on the ground. And so the comparison, as this technology develops in terms of the safety record versus what we know to be the safety record under the current way that we do traffic and driving in this country. That's the comparison, right?
Right. Every night on the news, you see the stories of the auto accident, the person who lost their life. And most of them are preventable. They're by human error. And we can put technology into a vehicle to make it safer. And that's the thing. This isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take decades. But every step that we take will make driving in a car safer. The sensors are already in them. They've been putting them in there for years. They'll soon be able, and I say soon, within a year or two, to be able to talk to each other. They'll be talking to the traffic signals. There will be sensors that will be placed throughout the public infrastructure. You'll basically, like Caravan as you're driving, and if you're texting somebody and the car stops in front of you, your car will remain a safe distance away. That's right on the horizon. And that's going to be built, and that whole industry is going to be created in the United States, Europe, or Asia.
And now,
that's the only thing that hasn't been decided yet.
Now, Mayor, if I'm a diehard Steelers fan, even though I'm in Chicago. So if I was to volunteer to be a passenger in one of these driverless cars, do you think you could line up some playoff tickets for me? Wouldn't that be? Is that doable?
Hello?
To volunteer to do it?
Yeah, if I volunteered to do it, could I get?
He wants playoff tickets.
Could I get maybe like a Roethlisberger jersey and some playoff tickets this year? Is my question.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure how they do it. A lot of the stuff that they do with their selection, because it's so competitive against Ford and Google and Tesla and everything, is pretty quiet. But I did volunteer. I am on that list. There's a list of, I think, around 1,000 people within the city that are Uber users that have been given that opportunity. But I don't know what the criteria of that selection was.
All right.
Good luck, Dan.
Thank you. He is Mayor Bill Peduto, mayor of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us and setting the record state on driverless cars.
One last thing. The last time we had this debate was whether or not we could trust elevators or whether you should have somebody pushing the button for you.
Right, and we found out that you should have somebody pushing the button for you. That's why every elevator has an elevator operator to this day. All right, Mayor, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Have a great day, guys.
And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm still trying to process the driverless car. Now, I thought the internet was going to go away, Dan. It didn't. Forecast.
You've got another innovation coming up.
Oh, yeah, Botox for your balls.
Whoa. Hello.
Well, it's a condition and people are doing it.
No kidding.
Dan's next. But first, here's your forecast. Very warm, humid, a high of 83 degrees. And tonight, a shower, a low of 67. And for Friday, we're going to have some clouds and sun. Can't rule out a shower in spots. Still warm, a high of 82. Let's get the latest on the roadways. Anything rolling on the roadways? Here's Jim Telemonte.
Well, Amy, there are some problems. Northbound LaGrange Road, it's stop and go 87th to the Stevenson with a crash in the left lane. We think that car had a driver. Eden's inbound, little tight Foster to the junction, 22 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound, it's 30 minutes. The Kennedy, an hour and 5 minutes. O'Hare to downtown. The delay started at Sayre, a little quicker in the Express. Outbound, 45 minutes downtown to the airport. The Ike, an hour and 25 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. Outbound, 52 minutes. Stevenson looking at 55 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 37. The Ryan 35 minutes, 95th to downtown. Tollways are mostly improving. Veterans Memorial still heavy, 75th to the Reagan Tollway and Lake Street to 290. Jim Talamonte in the AM 560 Traffic Center.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan, for making me read that tease that you should have read. We can't use the B word.
Use the technical term. We're talking about medical procedures. Stop being so juvenile. It's called Scrotex.
And I'm going to think Springfield right now in September. No, not our state capital. Schrank Smoke and Gun is offering 10% off all store-owned Springfield firearms from concealed carry to 1911s throughout the month of September. Now, with the largest selection of new use and consignment firearms in Lake County, you'll avoid the Cook County firearm and ammo tax with just a short drive north. Plus, Schrank's 25% off of their huge knife inventory continues through September. For gunsmithing, you can count on family-owned Schranks celebrating 52 years this month. It's worth the trip, so stop in now and save 10% on store-owned Springfield firearms and 25% off knives. And don't forget to stock up on cigars at Schrank's. Visit smoke_gun.org or call 847-662-4034. Schrank Smoke and Gun in Waukegan, your family-owned gun store since 1964. That's 847-662-4034 or online at smoke_gun.org.
My name is David Hochberg, and I'm Vice President Lending at Pearl Mortgage. If you have a child going to college or getting ready to go to college, I have great news. I am hosting a college planning seminar Thursday, September 22nd at Oakbrook Financial Center in Oakbrook Terrace at 7 p.m. You should attend if any of these apply to you. You have a child going to college within the next 4 years. You have nothing saved and have no clue how you're going to pay for college. You want to learn about how a college coach can help you and your child locate the perfect college. You want to learn how a college coach can assist you in obtaining scholarships and financial aid. To register for the free seminar being held Thursday, September 22nd at the Oakbrook Financial Center in Oakbrook Terrace, go to am560david.com. Seating is limited, so register now at am560david.com. Now the exciting part. Pearl Mortgage is an equal housing lender, Illinois residential mortgage licensee, 4358 RMLA, and MLS 19186.
This is Dan Proft with 60 Seconds of Sanity. Not so long ago, Hillary Clinton was in the basket of deplorables she described as providing half of the supporters Donald Trump enjoys. Way back before 2013, Hillary opposed marriage redefinition. That was before she celebrated the Supreme Court's nullification of the Defense of Marriage Act Hillary had previously championed when President Bill Clinton signed it into law. As a U.S. Senator, Hillary declared she was, quote, adamantly opposed to illegal immigrants, unquote. That same U.S. Senator Hillary Clinton supported racial profiling of Muslims after the 9/11 attacks. Per her redefinitions, Hillary was for all of the isms and phobias before she was against them. Well, she's in deplorable company on the left. Jesse Jackson Sr. once termed abortion genocide. Democrat Assistant Senate Minority Leader Dick Durbin was once a pro-lifer who advocated overturning Roe v. Wade. Times change, but the left never does. The inconsistencies of the leftists' positions are in service of their consistent overriding purpose, which is the dominion over the lives of others. And that's what's truly deplorable.
AM 560, The Answer.
I want to leave
AC/DC.
here without...
yeah, right.
Oh,
Hey, so here's the deal. Finally, prayers answered.
Oh, my God.
You know, men have SAG issues, and I'm not talking about Screen Actors Guild. You know what I mean? So you can get...
So what's wrong, Dan? How can you correct the problem?
The problem is this. You know, sometimes you need a little help down under. You need a little lift and a little tuck.
Yeah, because gravity affects every part of everyone's body.
That's right.
And for men, I hear it can be really a problem.
I wouldn't know, Dr. Amy, but I've heard, and now there's a solution to that. Plastic surgery is advancing.
Yeah.
For a mere 2,800 pounds, because this is across the pond, pond, excuse me, in the UK.
Yeah.
You can receive a Scrotox treatment.
Scrotox?
Yeah, Botox injected into your scrotum. Ouch. But here's the thing.
Who would want to do that?
Well, you haven't heard the benefits.
Okay, what are the benefits?
I mean, think about it. You're going out on a Saturday night. You're getting all gussied up, and you got this problem down under.
I can't even look at you.
You go to get the Scrotox procedure, which eases sweating.
Oh gosh.
Lessens the appearance of wrinkles.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Look at it, shiny and new.
Shiny.
Keeping
it tight for your date, huh? Keep it real.
That scrotum looks 10 years younger, and makes it appear larger by helping the muscles relax.
Oh.
I mean, is there nothing that Scrotox can't do? All right. So.
Well, you don't have to sign me up, but maybe we can sign you up.
Well, you think this is just for the kind of vain?
Mm-hmm.
No. The number of men wanting Scrotox has doubled in the past year, and doctors suggest that they expect to see a rise
Oh, my God.
in the number seeking the treatment.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560.